following is a special presentation of TNN Sports. Winchester, Indiana, on the eastern border of the state, a quiet place full of farmland and full of history. Today, some of that history will echo to life at the legendary Winchester Speedway, the world's fastest half mile. ASA's back for the first time in 9 years.
Gentlemen, start your Vortec engines.
Last week, Indianapolis Raceway Park was no walk in the park for the American Speed Association. When the applause ended and the smoke cleared, a familiar face graced victory lane once again. Today, Butch Miller and the ASA end a decade-long hiatus from one of the most feared and revered racetracks in the country.
You know, when you go there as a teenager, it gets your attention. It's not like your local quarter-mile flat track, you know. It's big. It's super speedway.
When you walk in there and you look at them walls and you look at the stands and the trees going around it, it gives you a feeling like no other racetrack.
It's a cool racetrack. I mean, you know, it's a fast racetrack. You can run side by side there. You can run hard. I mean, it's just an exciting, awesome racetrack.
You think TNN's got pop? It's nothing compared to what Winchester Speedway owns. Check this out. 31-degree banking makes this track super fast. And the drivers, they don't race way down there. They race right here, just inches away from the wall. And that's what scares a lot of drivers, including point leader Gary St.Amant.
Today, Gary St.Amant stands poised to grab the ASA championship. Another trip to victory lane would crown a nearly flawless season. But today, Gary needs only to finish 30th or better to wrap up the title. Even a 30th, though, requires him to face Winchester Speedway's treacherous high banks. One of the most anticipated weekends of the 2000 American Speed Association season. They've been waiting for this ever since ASA announced at the start of the year they'd be coming back to Winchester after a 9-year break. The campers started to roll in here on Friday. All the parking lots are full, as are the grandstands for the return of ASA to the high banks of Winchester Speedway. 400 treacherous laps here today. It's the ASA's Winchester 400 live here on TNN Sports. Hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Benjamin. Steve Burns is alongside. We're going to show you how the points stack up at this time. 2 races left in the 2000 season. Gary St.Amant and Kevin Sawinski, the only drivers with a chance at the title. Sawinski, though, needs a lot of things to happen in his favor here today and in a couple of weeks in St. Louis to have an opportunity to steal the title. Frankly, it's Gary St.Amant's to lose, I think, today, Steve Burns, and we'll be shocked if he doesn't cart that trophy home at the end of the day.
I think we'll crown a champion here, but what I don't know, Rick, is who is going to win this Fall Classic. 400 laps around a wild, half-mile, fast racetrack, and 35 racers in this field. Only 5 of them have raced here before an ASA competition. Only 2 have won.
The history of this place is unbelievable. It opened in 1914 as a dirt track. They paved it in the late 40s, and it's been a very tough place. Many drivers have lost their lives here in open-wheel competition. Stock cars certainly have seen their share of hard pileups as well. A lot of factors for these drivers to think about. It is scary fast here, but Bob Dillner is trackside for us today. Bob, tires ought to be the #1 thing on everyone's mind here this afternoon.
They are definitely the #1 thing on everybody's mind. And the BFGs have been so good this year. A lot of teams say it's taken tires out of the equation. Well, the tires are back in the picture today, and that's because we're seeing a lot of excessive wear on these tires. In fact, BF Goodrich didn't think they were going to have enough tires for Winchester here today, so they overnighted 300 more tires. They got here this morning. Overall, 1,100 tires could be used here this weekend. And let me show you the possible problem. This is the flat plane of the tire. It stops and ends at like a 90-degree angle. Well, what happens is this 90-degree angle of this tire hits the high banks here at Winchester, and it's chunking the tire. The tire is coming up in chunks. We're going to see a lot of pit stops because of the excessive tire wear, maybe 8 to 10 stops here today.
And that would be a departure from what we have seen throughout this entire 2000 season. That would be more what we were used to last year, where the drivers at the head of the pack might need to make 10 stops for tires. It ought to be a great afternoon of racing at Winchester. We'll be back with the event coming up. Welcome back to Winchester Speedway, Winchester, Indiana. The ASA AC Delco Series on TNN Sports, the 19th of 20 rounds of the 2000 season. 35 cars set to take the green flag today. 10 drivers were quicker than all. Let's meet them.
Hi, I'm Larry Foyt, driver of the number 14 Harris Pontiac. I want to say thanks to my team for giving me a great car. We got our first pole position. Hopefully there'll be many more.
Hello, my name's Robbie Pyle, driver for Young Motorsports. I'd like to say a special hello to Jim and Joe Cushman in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank everyone for getting us here this weekend.
Hi, I'm Mike Garvey, driver of the number 1 LeFevre Racing Teams, Kempson-sponsored GM Vortex-powered Chevy Monte Carlo. I'd just like to say hi to everybody in Winchester, Indiana. Great to be back.
Hi, my name's Tim Taylor, driver of the unsponsored Chevy Monte Carlo. I'd like to say hi to my wife and kids at home and tell Dylan my legs are still better than his.
Hi, I'm Dave Sensman, driver of the MC Sports Dunlop Golf Pontiac. I'd like to say hi to my mom, and we're up here in the top 10.
Hi, I'm Mike Miller, driver of the number 18 Jenny King Pontiac, and I'd like to wish my older brother Butch Miller a lot of luck. He was very good last weekend, but he's starting behind me today.
Hi, I'm Butch Miller, driver of the 52 Myers Pontiac. I'd like to congratulate Larry Foyt for getting out of the pole. Larry, I'm coming after you. And I also like to say hi to my older brother, Mike Miller.
Hi, I'm Glenn Allen, driver of the GM Goodwrench Service Plus Pontiac. I'd like to say hi, everybody back in Cincinnati.
Hi, I'm David Stremme, driver of the number 27 ISES anti-race cars Aftershock Pontiac. And I'd like to thank Robert for giving me the opportunity to run all 8 races.
Hi, I'm Derek Gilchrist, driver of the number 25 Pontiac Grand Prix. I'd like to thank Dunlop Golf, MC Sports, and AFCO Shocks for everything they've done for us in the last couple of races. And hopefully we can put it in the top 3 this weekend.
So there's your top 10. Let's take you back through the balance of the field here today. Brian Ross and Buddy Gainey's car. Ross ran last week at IRP. He is a local late model star and ARCA veteran here. Gary St.Amant comes from the 7th row today. Bob Diller, cars on the racetrack, and they've been there for some time. What's the plan here?
Well, the pit strategy could be very interesting today. As we alluded to just a little while earlier, Rick, teams are seeing wear. The tires start to come chunking up at around 18 laps into a green flag run. What ASA plans to do is they plan to monitor this, give them about 50 green flag laps, and they may throw a competition caution to make these guys come in and to check the tire wear.
And Rick, let me elaborate a bit on what Bob just said. At the drivers' meeting this morning, B.F. Goodrich, Chris Baker, the director of their racing operations, and some other folks were there. They have told the drivers what air pressures to run, what camber to run. They've told them how to get ready for this race.
We're taking a look at some of our in-car views. The USAMeets.com camera today will be on board Gary St.Amant's car number 7. Looking for a green flag? We'll be able to do something brand new this week. Give you an aerial view all the way around St.Amant as he tries to come up through the field. 400 laps to go at Winchester. We are underway. Glad to have you with us this October here on TNN Sports. Out of turn 4 to lead lap number 1, Larry Foyt in car number 14 out in front. Tim Taylor has rocketed to 2nd in the 28 car. Everybody through lap 1 cleanly. Robbie Pyle settles into 3rd. Mike Garvey rides 4th. Mike Miller 5th. Right behind that group of cars, there's Miller and the Jana King Pontiac. First 6 or 7 cars single file. Glenn Allen Jr. has moved up. Steve, look at how high they run on this racetrack.
Yeah, and I want to say something else about the B.F. Goodrich situation, the tire situation, Rick. That Chris Baker that we spoke of told the drivers, take it easy early on when you have a new set of tires. Let the heat build up. Let the air pressure build up. And as you said, they're going to run that high side. But right now, they're just trying to get those tires nice and warmed up, I guess is a good way to say it.
One guy who's warmed up his tires quickly, Mike Garvey in the Tecumseh Chevrolet, sailing by on the outside of Robbie Pyle. You saw him a moment ago. Get this view, the Van Camp's Beans camera under the nose dive plane of Robbie Pyle's young Chevrolet, the 8 car, with Van Camp's on that machine. We've got trouble on the backstretch, couple of cars spinning. Mike Cope is one of them. Several other cars piling in. The 09 of J.C. Beatty, little flame there at Ken Alexander's 03. The 49 is involved. Alexander with huge damage to the front of the Grease Lightning Chevrolet. He's going to dive that car to the inside and most likely dive out quickly. First caution of the afternoon. 5 laps are on the board, and the fire has blown itself out for the moment in the 03. There's John Silverthorne, window net down in the Aquaterra Ventures Chevrolet, the 08. Several other cars involved in that spin coming off turn number 2, and this is exactly the kind of action we knew we'd see here at Winchester.
Rick, the 33 of Greg Stewart got sideways coming off of turn 2. I don't know if he lost the car by himself. He said he loves this racetrack, but when Greg got turned around, there was nowhere else for the cars behind him to go.
Not a super wide speedway here on the straightaways, and there are walls and berms to the inside, so you don't have much of an escape hatch here if there is trouble on the racetrack. There's the 55 car with heavy damage. We saw Matt Hagan's 49 involved. That's Greg Williams from Hofstad, Indiana. The Shoe Carnival Chevrolet, local driver from this region, making an infrequent ASA appearance this weekend. So we'll sort all this out, and we'll take a look as this one was getting started, coming down off of turn 2, just on lap number 5. And there you see Stewart going around with Mike Cope. And there's the 55 car up into the outside wall. J.C. Beatty's machine, everybody else on the binders. There you see Alexander. It looks like he got shoved into the inside wall there on the backstretch, Steve.
Yeah, and as I said, there's the fire, Ken Alexander's car, the 03. Greg Stewart coming off of 2. That thing got turned around on him again. I didn't see if he'd lost it himself or somebody got into it. Maybe the tires weren't heated up yet, as we said, Rick. But in any case, nowhere to go for all those cars behind Greg Stewart in the 33.
That's Ken Alexander there in the yellow driving suit. You saw him out of the car with the ball cap on, so he's fine. Front of that car, though, suffering heavy damage. Here comes Mike Cope on the pit road behind Greg Stewart. Cope's a guy we want to watch here today. He has won at this racetrack in NASCAR All-Pro competition, but today the Mannheim Auto Auction Chevrolet took a heavy hit to the left rear corner. Greg Stewart on pit road. They're going to service that car with left side tires. Some damage there. And now you watch Mike Cope's crew going to work on the 3 car. We'll sort all this out. The field is under caution for the first time today. 7 of 400 laps are on the board. Your leader is Larry Foyt, the pole sitter today at Winchester, Indiana. Back live at Winchester Speedway, Winchester, Indiana. The Winchester 400 today, the American Speed Association here on TNN Sports. First appearance for these cars in 9 years at this racetrack. And you know, the last time these cars were here, the winner was a guy who's in the field today, Glenn Allen Jr. He's driving Bud Gibbons' Pontiac today, the Good Wrench machine. Now, Glenn ran his first ASA race in 1987, only 16 years old at that time. And back in 1995, he was the runner-up to Brian Refter for the title. He went to the NASCAR Busch Series for 5 seasons, back in ASA this year. Glenn Allen Jr. is our B.F. Goodrich big name in the making.
Glenn Allen Jr. started this season in the NASCAR Busch Series, where he has over 100 career starts. But after just a few races, the team folded up. After 3 months of looking for a ride, Glenn Allen Jr. got the call to return to ASA.
I feel like I left something down there. I hadn't proved my point down there. I felt like my job when I came in '96 was to win Rookie of the Year, stay out of trouble, you know, get respect from all the guys that's been there for a lot of years. And I did that. We ran a lot of laps. I mean, we finished 11th in the points my rookie year, 12th the following year. I thought we did everything right from the amount of dollars we had and the people we had against the other race teams, that we were exceptionally well. Then all of a sudden I get them one bad program and I'm out. So that kind of bothers me, but not to the point if I came back here and ran the ASA series every week, I wouldn't lose any sleep over what went on down there. But I feel like I got a lot left. I feel like I'm a better race car driver now than I ever was in 1994 when I was runner-up and lost the championship by a few points and won a bunch of races.
Glenn Allen Jr.'s racing career is at a crossroads, but an ASA homecoming has restored his confidence and desire.
I didn't realize how much I miss or how much I love racing until you're not with it. Most guys that race every week go, ooh, I can't wait to have a weekend off. I can't wait to race every week. So, Steve, I mean, when they asked me to do these 9 weeks, I was totally excited. I mean, I want to race, and now I'm more hungry now than I've ever been. I mean, my racing career, where it stands today, I really don't know. I bought a home in Cincinnati. I bought a race shop to own my own ASA team. I'd love the Busch Grand National race. I just want to race, and I want to be competitive.
And Glenn Allen Jr. has 6 career ASA AC Delco wins. He's run 10 races here. Bob Dillner, what is he saying? We talked about he's at a crossroads. What's he going to do next year?
Well, Steve, he's got a plan A, B, and C. He would like to entertain some Busch offers, but he says if he remains in ASA, that will be perfectly fine. He could drive for car runner Bud Gebbin once again, but he is also looking at forming his own team. In fact, he's bought a shop for next year. He doesn't know whether he would run for that team or put another driver in there. But the one thing, Steve, we've talked to him a lot, and he says the one thing he wants to do this year is win a race.
And this could be the day of the place that happens. The winner here in 1991, they've been getting better and better and better every week, Steve Burns, but they just haven't quite been able to close a deal. Maybe this is the opportunity.
Well, they finished in the top 10 just about every week since he's come back here. So, yeah, he could do it. He could win one of these last 2 races of the year.
Now, his teammate is Gary St.Amant, of course, who's in contention, certainly likely to wrap up the 2000 championship today. We mentioned a few moments ago, we've got some brand new onboard camera technology in the 7 car today. And we'll give you an inside look at Gary as he works the wheel of that machine around the racetrack here at Winchester. But up on the roof, instead of our normal forward view, rearward view, we can take you completely around the car from the rooftop. This is something brand new. We're debuting it here today on TNN Sports.
Hey, technology installed by Boykin Communications. Terry Boykin was the engineer. There you see that's where the camera is mounted. It's much like a periscope on a submarine. A 360-degree view from the roof of the car there on Gary St.Amant's car. There's a little periscope thing with the camera inside. That whole thing weighs 2 pounds, wow. Rick. 2 pounds. So doesn't affect the way Gary feels when he drives the car. Doesn't affect the way the car feels to Gary.
Interesting indeed, and great technology. We got to get some wonderful views of the action here at Winchester. Talk about this place, and I'm sure you've read about it, heard about it, maybe been to a race or seen one on television in years past here. 31-degree banking. A lot of folks compared this to Darlington or to Bristol. It's similar to that. Not as wide, certainly, but a lot of similarities, I think, to Bristol. See, they run that high line. Boy, did we see that right away when they got going, when we put this one under green.
I was watching them in practice yesterday, Rick, when I got here, and it took my breath away watching them run the high line, as Bob Dillner said in the opening of the show, right up on the rim of the wall there in turns 3 and 4. And what it made me realize is there is no room for margin here, no margin for error, rather. We just saw it there on lap 5 when Greg Stewart got around. No, you just can't avoid it. You're going so fast. It's like a rock on a rope.
8 cars involved in that wreck, as we showed you a moment ago. One of them, the 33 of Greg Stewart. Bob Dillner is in their pit area.
Well, Stewart and Cope apparently got together on the track. Alan, you just ran all the way down to Mike Cope's crew. What's that all about?
Well, you know, this is a 400-lap race, and early on, there's no need to be beating and banging. I mean, you know, Greg got a little loose coming out of the corner. They got together. You know, we're not out here to wreck anybody, and, you know, it's kind of, you get tapped in the rear on the straightaways here. Tempers are flaring early, and it's a 400-lapper. It's going to be a long day.
And, Rick, there was some extracurricular activity on the track, too, apparently. Mike Cope going up and bumping the 33 car, saying, hey, let's not have that happen again.
At the moment, the 33 with Greg Stewart shown on the lead lap. 27th spot. Mike Cope back shown 31st. And, Steve, while we were looking at the replays of the incident, looking at the grid, trying to determine exactly what did happen as they work on the Florida auto auction machine of Mike Cope trying to get that car perhaps ready to return. He's not running for points. This is his first foray into ASA. They've been quick everywhere. You know that Mike Cope is a veteran race driver and a very fine driver, and they're planning on a full-scale assault on this series next year. He was really flying when the drop of the green hit. He started back in 31st spot and was up where Greg Stewart was in just a couple of laps.
Yeah, Greg started, I think, in the 15th position. So, yeah, he was coming. He's coming in a hurry. And, you know, Mike Cope is a great racer. He's one of the most talented veteran racers. As we've said it before, Rick, he's raced in the Busch Series. He's raced NASCAR Craftsman trucks. He's a guy that can get the job done, and he's been a little bit frustrated about their failure to finish races.
Yeah. And they certainly didn't go any distance toward proving that has improved for that team here today. Just a couple of laps, and they're involved in that first incident. Ready to restart here at Winchester. 17 laps complete in the Winchester 400. Full house here at the Speedway, as you can see. They're on their feet as Larry Foyt brings us back to green, and we're back underway. Tim Taylor is second. The 1 car with Mike Garvey is third. Robbie Pyle, Mike Miller, and Glenn Allen Jr. the next 3. And you can see Garvey trying to size up Taylor as they race down the back straightaway and come to the front stretch. Taylor doing a great job here in the early going.
I talked to Tim Taylor this morning before the race, and I said, Tim, you guys have been running so well, you know, the last half of the season. He goes, yeah, but if it weren't for bad luck, we wouldn't have any luck at all. If we can just finish one of these things, we'll have a great finish.
He has led some laps, and he's gunning for the top spot here in the Winchester 400 in the early going. Let's find out more about Mike Cope's situation back downstairs to Bob Dylan.
Mike, some words between your crew and Greg Stewart's crew. What happened out in the track?
Well, it's a 50-50 deal. I blame myself 50% for qualifying so terrible back there with them cars. And the other 50% is I think Greg Stewart thought it was lap 400, not lap 3. And I just was driving underneath him, and we had a good race car, as you seen yesterday. And he just chopped down on me not once, but a couple times in the right front. Sent my car around. We were okay, but then Dave Jackson come along and took us out. But we're going to St. Louis, and he'll be buying him a new race car.
Mike Cope will not be getting back in this race either because the fuel cell actually got wrecked and crushed in that incident.
Wow. Trouble indeed for Derek Gilchrist and Dave Sensibus' team car, the MC Sports Machine. He is off the pace down the backstretch. Gilchrist jumping into the second car for that team the last couple of weeks. There are your 3 leaders. The 14 of Larry Foyt, the 28 with Tim Taylor, the 1 car with Mike Garvey. As they lap by the 81 of Mark Cole, Gilchrist onto pit road. 23 laps are on the board, and Garvey again takes a look inside Taylor as they come off of turn 2. And so far, Steve, he's been able, Taylor has, to get a good jump off that corner and stay in front of the 1.
Yeah, he's keeping that thing wound up pretty good. And I'm amazed at Larry Foyt there in the 14, our pole sitter. We had an all-rookie front row for the second time this season. Larry Foyt's first pole, and he's been able to do a great job of keeping it out there in front of Taylor and Garvey.
As we watch the leaders come down the front stretch, what about Gary St.Amant, the series point leader? Needs to finish 30th or better here today to clinch the 2000 championship. It would be his second title in 3 years. We'll watch Gary as we page you back through the field. Mike Miller, Glenn Allen, Scott Hansen, and the 53 car right up in there. That's Brian Ross racing his way into 8th spot as we watch that group of cars come down the front straightaway. St.Amant lined up in 13th spot here this afternoon out of Columbus, Ohio, in the Wynn's Goodwrench Chevrolet, the 7. Gary really driving conservatively. He's back in 18th right now, back behind this group of cars. Good battle here. Mike Miller and Glenn Allen Jr. fighting for 5th spot. Good to see Mike Miller with a good qualifying effort on a high bank racetrack, Steve.
Yeah, they've been struggling a little bit this year, no question about it. He got a win early in the season at Montgomery, but they have struggled, no question about it.
Glenn Allen looking to fight his way inside Miller for the position. That would be for 5th. Back behind those 2, there's Scott Hansen in 7th. Brian Ross steering the 53 in 8th. Ricky Johnson is back there, the blue and white Nationwide Auction System Chevrolet in 9th spot.
You know, Rick, you talked about Gary St.Amant in this racetrack. Talking to him yesterday in between practice sessions, he said, I got myself really worked up about coming here. This is not an easy track to race on.
Not at all. Larry Foyt still out in front of the purple 14, closing in on the back decklet of Matt Hagan's 49 car, the Eagle Creek Aviation Chevrolet out of Indianapolis. Foyt gets by. Hagan's goes another lap down. Tim Taylor in tow in the white 28, the EMAS Ambulance System Chevrolet. Taylor is 2nd. He is from Indianapolis as well. So Taylor with a lot of local ties to this region. Your top 2 have opened up a little advantage now on Mike Garvey, who rides 3rd, but Garvey's about 10 car lengths back. We put 32 laps on the board here at Winchester. Back at Winchester Speedway, Winchester, Indiana, the ASA AC Delco Series on TNN Sports early in the Winchester 400, and there is your leader. In the A.J. Foyt, Butch Miller, Harris Pontiac, the 14, pole sitter Larry Foyt. Steve, he's got a big couple of weeks coming his way. Not only is he doing a great job here in his rookie ASA campaign to have the pole for the first time and now to lead the first 37 laps, he's got a couple of ARCA rides coming up on major speedways in one of his dad's former Winston Cup machines coming up shortly. This, meantime, is the battle for 5th and 6th. How about Brian Ross and Buddy Gainey's Pontiac to the inside of Glenn Allen Jr.? That gives him 6th position, and now he'll take a run at Mike Miller in the 18, who's riding 5th.
You know, talking about Larry Foyt, Rick, he's only led 1 time this year for 7 laps. So he's doing a great job getting experience running at the front of the pack today.
Another car
in traffic.
Glenn Allen Jr. has popped the wall in car number 4. Trouble indeed. The 05 of Scott Wimmer also in the wall up in turn 2. Glenn Allen with heavy damage to the right front corner of the Goodwrench Pontiac. So the driver who won the last ASA event here in 1991 Not likely to duplicate that feat here this afternoon at Winchester Speedway. Our second caution of the day on lap 40. And this actually may be a good thing for these ASA teams. They've put a lot of green flag laps in now. It may give some of them a chance to come in and take a look at those tires, the right sides particularly, that everyone, especially B.F. Goodrich, was so concerned about.
B.F. Goodrich recommended that they change tires after 50 laps. So, yeah, this is good timing.
Show it to you one more time. Glenn Allen Jr. in the thick of things, fighting for fifth, right up into the wall in turn one, and you have to wonder, was it a tire?
Well, it looks like he cut the tire down. He's shredded as he comes down pit road, but I don't know if he cut it down or if it blew. We need to find out. Bob Dillner told us about that at the start of the race. These guys are really going to be looking hard at tires, and Glenn Allen Jr. now is stalled on pit road.
He stopped right behind the start-finish line as we take another look at how hard Allen got into the wall up there between turns 1 and 2. Scott Wimmer had spun the 05 as well in that same general vicinity. He has refired the 05 and is back. He's rejoined the pack. So we may well have had our first tire problem of the afternoon here at Winchester Speedway. And the crew, the Bud Gebbin team, taking a look. The pit road area is closed right now because the 4 has stalled in the middle of that piece of real estate. So no teams can use pit road now. There's the waving flag, the red flag with the yellow stripes. The ASA official on hand there to let the drivers know they're not able to service their machines right now. Larry Foyt, Tim Taylor, and Mike Garvey, your top 3 runners. And Butch Miller, Robbie Pyle, and Scott Hansen. And Glenn Allen was right in the hunt with Mike Miller when this incident happened just a few moments ago. We'll take you back and give you another look at this. We'll jump on board Butch Miller's Meyer Stores Pontiac here. The 52 car going down into 1, and there you see the aftermath. Actually, that's a look at Scott Wimmer spinning after the 4 had gotten up into the wall to begin things. So they're going to put a hook on the 4 car here on the front straightaway, remove it, and hopefully they can change what needs to be changed in the right front corner, get Glenn Allen back out on the racetrack this afternoon. You know he was looking forward to coming here. I guess you'd call him the defending race winner, but it was 9 years ago. And a tough, short day for him at this point.
And, you know, we said he stalled on pit road, Rick. Actually, what it is, he can't, the wheel and the axle, it's all locked up. You just can't make the thing go.
So the Bud Gebbin crew continues to survey the damage in the GM Goodwrench Pontiac, the 4 car. Butch Miller's wife among those watching things here at Winchester Speedway. Back live at Winchester Speedway, Winchester, Indiana. The Winchester 400 today for the ASA AC Delco Series here on TNN Sports. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns. Bob Dillner is on pit road. Your leader for the restart will be Greg Stewart from 4 Oaks, North Carolina, in the number 33 Stewart Racing Pontiac. Greg electing to stay out. Now, he was involved in the first caution and most likely got service on pit road, a couple of new tires at that point. Larry Foyt's team, very, very strong, Bob Dillner, but their pit stop wasn't quite as quick as they needed. What happened down there?
Yes, they had some trouble. They brought the Harris Pontiac down on pit road, and they changed right side tires. First, they had some trouble on the right front, and then Joe Shear, the crew chief, actually had trouble on the right rear during this pit stop. That allowed Mike Garvey, with an ultra-quick stop, to actually beat Larry Foyt and the rest of the field off of pit road.
Foyt and most of the other lead cars did come onto pit road. Larry Foyt right now is shown 3rd on the restart because, Steve, guess what? Mike Garvey's crew ripped off a quicker stop than anyone else. They were first off pit road.
And that's not a surprise at all. But, hey, you know, Larry Foyt's crew didn't do a terrible job.
No.
I mean, you know, they did have a little bit of trouble there on the right rear. But, you know, the thing about this, they need to keep Larry up near the front so he can have a chance to win this race.
Joe Shear Jr., Bob Dillner referring to the son of the legendary short tracker in the Midwest. Joe Shear passed away a couple of years ago and won literally hundreds of races all over the middle United States. Joe Shear Jr. certainly knows how to operate an ASA team and how to make things work properly on pit road for his team. Brandon Stewart, first car in this group in the 40. Denny Crookston's Chevrolet. He is not on the lead. Well, he's barely at this moment on the lead lap, just trying to stay in front of Greg Stewart, who is your restart leader. Mike Garvey goes second in the 1 car. That's Stewart in the 33 leading the race right now. Then Garvey, Larry Foyt, Tim Taylor, and how about Joey Clanton in the 83? Excellent pit work again. The Steve Dale Enterprises crew getting Clanton on and off pit road in a hurry. And the young driver who won his first race at Memphis just a few weeks ago, very much in contention here as we come toward lap 50 of 400 this afternoon. Clanton back right behind Tim Taylor's machine. And how about David Stremme and Robert Hamke's Pontiac, the 27. Stremme with a lot of laps on this racetrack in local late model competition. He has moved into 6th. Strong young driver right behind Clanton in the yellow and blue Pontiac. If we look back one more spot, we'll see Stremme. This is a battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. There's Stremme right behind him there in the 27th.
Yeah, Stremme's from Indiana, and Rick, as you said, he's got experience. He's got laps on this track, which only 5 guys have raced here in ASA competition. That's got to be an advantage for him, even though he's in a little bit different race car for David Stremme.
Stremme trying to reel in that group that includes Plant in the 83, Taylor in the 28, and Foyt in the purple 14 machine. No changes out in front. The 40 of Brandon Sperling still able to stay in front of this group. There's Stremme in the ISES machine. The announcement this week that Stremme will run the full season next year at Robert Hampke's Pontiacs, and they're looking for a major sponsor. ISES will remain involved as an associate. Battle for the top spot here. Mike Garvey in the 1, trying to work his way around Greg Stewart in the 33 as they haul it off into turn 3. Garvey will go topside, almost glance off the wall. Stewart tucks it down low. They're trying to get by the 40 of Brandon Sperling, who is, well, let's show Sperling 2 laps down right now. He's trying to avoid going a 3rd lap down to Stewart and the 1 of Garvey.
And I think Garvey's faster than Greg Stewart right now, but this is a hard track to pass on for anybody. Garvey's going to take his time and make sure he's got Stewart set up, Rick, before he goes by him.
Larry Foyt riding in 3rd in the 14 car, and back behind those 3, Tim Taylor continuing his strong run of performances in the EMAS 28. Let's find out more about some of the drivers involved in the most recent incident. Back downstairs to Bob Dillner.
A bunch of crews have come down to the Goodwrench Pontiac, taking a look to see if the right front tire blew on Glenn Allen's car. But Glenn, you tell me that wasn't the problem.
We don't think so. I never heard the tire pop. I mean, it made a noise, but I think it broke up right frame. I hated the car was good. We were riding around there in 6 trying to stay out of trouble. I know it's a long day, so, and I had bad luck. The GM Goodwrench car was good. We'll be back next week, get them, but it's hard. We aren't a good race car team.
Tough break for a former winner here at Winchester.
Very tough indeed. He was one of the drivers that we were thinking might well be in contention here when the checkered flag waves this afternoon at Winchester. Great to come to this historic half mile for the first time. I've read about this place, seen it on television in years past. So much history here, especially in open wheel racing and in ASA stock car competition. Real pleasure to be here. The fans certainly turn out in droves here at Winchester. They love their stock car racing.
And Rick, I walked through the grandstand yesterday morning when I got here. They were practicing, and I went, oh my goodness, look at this place. I'm like you, I'd watched it on TV and read a lot about it, but great fans, great racing, great racetrack. What an awesome place it is to race.
Top 8 cars in a freight train at the front of the group. There's Gary St.Amant in the Wins Goodwrench Chevrolet. Car number 7, he's raced his way back up to 13th spot. Gary only needs a 30th or better today, and he is the 2000 ASA champion. And I have to tell you something. Mike Cope is behind the wall in the 3 car. He's being shown 31st right now. 30 cars are left on the racetrack, so unofficially, Gary St.Amant has all but bagged up the 2000 ASA title worth $200,000 here this afternoon. We might as well call it good because Gary is not going to finish any worse than 30th this afternoon.
And Rick, did you see that? Oh, look at that camera move. Oh, look at that up the back or from the roof.
Looked like a young Steve Burns with an ENG camera there.
I wasn't that smooth.
On board with St.Amant now. Let's jump on board with Robbie Pyle in the Young Motorsports Chevrolet in the 8 car. Pyle back in 15th spot. How about that front bumper camera looking ahead at Brian Ross in the 53? That gives you a great view of just how fast it is around Winchester.
Oh, look at that view underneath the, right up on the 53. And look at how those cars are bouncing, the shock travel, Rick. That's a great, great look from Robbie Pyle, who, by the way, has won probably 5 or 6 ARCA Pro 4 Series races here, like late models. So he's won races on this racetrack. He felt good yesterday. He said he felt good about his chances of winning.
Down the front straightaway here at Winchester, Buddy Gainey and Robbie Pyle right behind Gary St.Amant. St.Amant in the 7, closing in on Tim Sauter's 9 car. Sauter running in the 12th spot right now.
Rick, I want to tell you a quick story about Robbie Pyle there in the 8. He grew up in Ohio, and his dad, Dale Pyle, was a racer. Well, Dale Pyle was good friends with a great racer from this area named Gentleman Jim Cushman. Okay?
Know the name?
Well, we mentioned the fact that Robbie Pyle and his team had been having some financing problems getting from race to race. Well, Gentleman Jim sent Robbie a check for $500. Robbie hadn't talked to him in years now. Jim Cushman sent him a $500 check and said, here, buy a set of tires. So Robbie was really touched and thrilled that a racer of that caliber would try to help him out.
Jim Cushman, one of the great standouts of late model stock car action in the 50s, 60s, and even into the 70s. Believe he made some ASA starts, if memory serves. We'll check with our statistician, Craig Miller, who nods and says, yes, in fact, he did. Thought that name rang more than a bell here. Leader is still Greg Stewart in the 33. Mike Garvey is right behind him in the 1 car in second spot. They have not been able to get by the 40 of Brandon Sperling, although Brandon is a couple of laps down. He was involved in that incident back a couple of laps ago on the backstretch in which Mike Cope got into the 33 of Stewart. Amazing that Stewart still so strong after pitting to get the car bodywork straightened out and get some tires put on that machine. Bob Dillner, you've been watching things on pit road. Tires an issue. What are they saying in Mike Garvey's pit area?
I'm taking a look at a lot of tires on pit road, and the tire wear is not as bad as expected. You can see right here on the outer edge, this is the right rear tire of Mike Garvey's car. And Mike is one to definitely wrestle a car around a track. This chunking looks bad, but it's not as bad as we saw yesterday during the qualifying race and also practice. So teams very enthused about minimal tire wear so far here tonight.
We've run 71 of 400 laps here today at Winchester. Here's Garvey swinging to the inside down the backstretch. And Steve, you can tell what he's trying to do. He's trying to get momentum coming down the hill off the corner. It isn't working for him yet.
Exactly, Rick. He's making a run to the high side, gets momentum, then he wants to dive down underneath the 33 of Stewart. Let's see if he does it coming off 2. That's where he tried it last time. Can't do it. And, you know, Sperling, Rick, just check the scoring. He's only 1 lap down, so he's going to fight like heck to stay there on the lead lap. Caution comes out. He's right back in the mix of things.
We've heard it so many times at Darlington and at Bristol, and I think we're going to hear more about it as the afternoon unfolds here at Winchester, that if you stay up by the wall, keep the engine wound up, keep your momentum up, that's a recipe to success at a racetrack like this. And that's what Greg Stewart's been trying to do, keep that car just a foot or 2 off the concrete up in the corners.
Greg Stewart told me he loves this racetrack, Rick. Some guys are frankly a little bit intimidated of these high banks. I was standing down on turn 4 with Greg yesterday watching some practice. And remember, he led at I-70 this year, the only track he's led on, a lot like this racetrack. He said, man, I love the high banks. Let's go.
Watching that battle for the lead, the 33 and the 1. There's Foyt in third. We take you back to the group of 8 cars that are battling it out. Kevin Sawinski in the 21, the Texas Roadhouse Chevrolet out of the Lefebvre Racing Stables, trying to work his way inside Ricky Johnson as they battle it out for 7th. Johnson in the 22. The Nationwide Auction Systems machine is 7th. Sawinski sits 8th, second in points, winless on the season. Talk about a driver who has had success through consistency this year. It has absolutely been Kevin Sawinski's story. I think got a glimpse there of the white 09 car, J.C. Beatty Jr. from Baltimore, Maryland. The ATI Performance Chevrolet, as the leaders left by him, J.C. was involved in one of those early incidents as well. And he is running, but he is running off the pace. Almost 80 laps are on the board here at Winchester. It's been pretty clean so far. We've had 2 cautions in the early going, one after just a couple of laps, another one involving this driver's machine, Mike Cope, about 30 laps in here at Winchester. Third caution of the afternoon has just come out for a spin coming off the second corner. Russ Tuttle, the sheriff of Marion County, and, well, the deputy, the chief deputy of Marion County.
He's the head of investigations
in Indianapolis.
And as you pointed out, he's more of an administrator, but as we saw on race day, he still gets in the line of fire.
He is not afraid to jump out from behind the desk and get into the thick of things. He was in the thick of things coming off turn 2 when I believe the Conseco Pontiac just got away from Russ. Show you what happened here as the leaders were coming around. Joey Clanton trying to get to the inside. Larry Foyt on the brakes, and Joey had to swing low, and I think he might have just caught the back end of Larry Foyt's machine a little. That was as the caution was waving for Russ's spin. There's the 16 car, pointed in the right direction, back on the racetrack on the low side behind Jack Landis's 07. Leaders will come to pit road. I'm sure Russ Tuttle will be among them to come to pit road and check tire wear and other things. Greg Stewart's crew will put right side tires on the X1R Pontiac, the Stewart Racing machine out of 4 Oaks, North Carolina. Many other teams will stop. Scott Hansen will take right sides. Ricky Johnson will. 99 Series champ Tim Sauter. Joey Clanton's crew, they get the 83 down and away quickly. The Steve Dale machine, there's the 1 of Mike Garvey. Great service work there. Back downstairs to Bob Dillner.
More right side tires on Tim Taylor's mount. This is the second time he's stopped so far, as has Larry Foyt and Mike Garvey. He pulls away a good stop for Tim Taylor. He doesn't lose too many spots.
Field under caution, watching an incident on pit road. Jack Landis in the Noah Yoder Ford almost got in trouble down there. Very tight pit road. Most of the pit stalls are on the front straightaway. Some teams are pitted around going toward turn 2, much like you would see in a place like Phoenix or Rockingham, something like that. And kind of what we've seen at other tracks, including Madison here on the ASA Tour this year. As David Stremme in the 27 car, he'll restart 5th. Robert Hamke's Pontiac, the rookie, doing a great job in front of a full house of fans at Winchester Speedway. Back live at Winchester Speedway, Winchester, Indiana. The ASA Winchester 400. And a reminder for all your ASA racing information and all behind-the-scenes stories, check us out at tnnonline.com. Now, the top 6 cars did not pit in that last caution period. Ted Smokestad off the pace there in the 42 car. We jump on board Robbie Pyle. He is right behind the 53. Brian Ross, Pyle to the inside, wants second. And now he's going to get a challenge for 3rd spot. That is not the place to be. Scott Wimmer to the outside of the 05. Wimmer has spun once already today. And Mark Dismore will go to the high side as well. Robbie Pyle getting freight trained. He'll jump back up in line. He is slower, though, than that group of cars. Pyle has lost something off the fastball here in the last couple of laps as the top 3 start to pull away. Interesting strategy, Steve. This group of cars elected to stay out. Those who pitted, Mike Garvey, the quickest guy off pit road, he's starting to charge now.
Yeah, and we're going to have to keep track of that all afternoon because we're going to see a lot of that of guys staying out as Wimmer goes to the bottom of Brian Ross there in the 05. And, you know, you're talking about Robbie Pyle losing some steam off the fastball. That's because he got stuck down on the bottom. That is not the fast way. He could not get back up to the high side.
This may be the most momentum-oriented racetrack we've seen this year on the American Speed Association Tour, our first visit here. And you can tell that if you don't stay up to the top of the racetrack and keep it wound up, you are not going to be able to run on pace with the leaders. Here's your leader, the 27, David Stremme, the Robert Hamke Pontiac, the ISES machine. Stremme, a first-year driver. He has run here and won here in what they call the Kendall, Indiana Late Model Series. It's a touring series in this state that comprises Salem and Winchester and Anderson and a couple of other racetracks. Ted Smokestad coming on pit road. Watch this. Joey Clanton working on Greg Stewart. They get side by side. This is a couple of laps ago now on the bottom right of your screen. Clanton and Stewart trade some decals and paint, and Clanton almost bought the fence there.
How did he not get that thing turned around, Rick? Oh, my goodness.
Well, one thing about Joey Clanton, he is very good at car control. He's very aggressive, but he really knows how to keep the handle on that race car. Settles in behind Gary St.Amant, who rides 10th. And we can call Gary St.Amant the series champion for 2000 because right now he is in a situation where all he had to do was finish 30th or better. 5 cars are in the garage area, so St.Amant can do no worse than 30th here this afternoon. And Gary St.Amant is your 2000 American Speed Association national champion as we climb on board the 7 car. Watching from St.Amant's machine, he is 10th, looking ahead at Tim Taylor, Greg Stewart, Tristan Dupuis. They're battling for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Sent downstairs to Bob Dillner.
Hey, a heck of a run so far for Tim Taylor, Rick. He's in the top 10 right now. And a very interesting story is that he totaled that car last weekend. He's got the Lucky Charms in his pits right here, hoping for some luck. That team worked 90 hours on that car, replacing the rear part and the front chassis of that car just to make it here to Winchester.
Taylor is a dedicated race driver. Watch him here working on Greg Stewart and on Tristan Dupuis. This is for 7th spot. Stewart shown 8th. Taylor was 9th. Stewart able to run quickly at the bottom, even with some body work flapping. That 33 is a good race car today.
Yeah, he likes to manhandle a race car, and this is a place to do it. Greg Stewart was really anxious yesterday, talking about how he loved running the high banks, Rick.
Tristan Dupuis in the Go-Go Auto Parts for Chetta's Pizza Pontiac there, the 11 with Edie's Ice Cream on the hood. Scored his first career ASA win just a short time ago at the start of September. The Minnesota State Fair in St. Paul on Labor Day Monday. So Taylor makes the pass good. First guy we've seen in quite a while make a low move stick here at Winchester, and he has gained some ground. Taylor back to 7th. Now remember, he qualified 4th, ran 3rd in the first 30 laps or so before the 2 cautions got him shuffled out of that lead group. He's trying to climb back into contention here.
You know, Tim Taylor, as I said earlier, talked to him before the race today, and he said if it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all the last 4 races, Rick. He's finished 34th, 25th, 22nd, and 28th. And the shame of it is he ran great in every one of those races. Got caught up in an accident, and he's won modified races on this racetrack.
Mike Garvey in car number 1 starting to rumble to the inside of Mark Dismore in the Munster.com Chevrolet. This is for 5th spot. Dismore is 5th in the 44. Garvey wants the spot from him. Now, Dismore did not stop on the last caution. Garvey and those behind him did for the most part. So Garvey, with fresher rubber, will make a rare inside pass through 3 and 4 to grab the spot.
You're exactly right. As we look out of Robbie Pyle's car, those tires are starting to come in now, and they are much faster on those new tires.
And view from Pyle was the view from 4th place back at Garvey and back at the 44 of Dismore. Pyle, the white car in that group. Garvey in the black Tecumseh machine, the number 1. Pyle's car with the Van Camp sponsorship on the rear flanks. Ricky Bryant normally drives the Van Camp's Pontiac. They elected to stay home and preserve Bryant's rookie status for the 2001 season. The Brian Cornelli team did. The sponsorship comes to Pyle this weekend, and that's certainly a good thing. The young team certainly needed the backing here this weekend. Watching the leaders work out of turn 2. It's still David Stremme in that blue number 27. Buddy Gainey in the Bissell Pontiac is 2nd. Scott Wimmer rides 3rd. His best run in a long time at ASA. Welcome back to Winchester Speedway in Winchester, Indiana. Trouble on the backstretch. A spin started to develop up in turn 2. Jack Landis has spun the Noah Yoder Ford at the end of the backstretch, but it all started when Russ Tuttle got loose up in turn 2 for the 2nd time today. Dirt tracked it through there, clipped the wall with the right rear corner of the car. Everybody else scattered, and Mike Garvey was one of those, Steve, that had to grab the brakes quickly.
Yeah, and Mike Garvey turned it around. I don't know if he hit the wall coming off too, but he did turn that thing around with the 07 and the 16.
See if we can get a couple of additional looks at it for you. We put 119 of 400 laps on the board, so we're a long way from halfway here at Winchester, and the caution is out for the 4th time this afternoon. David Stremme a year later. Mike Garvey stays in 2nd spot in the 1, and it's Brian Ross, Scott Wimmer, Robbie Pyle in the 8, and Mark Dismore in the 44, your top 6, with Tim Taylor 7th. That's Garvey at the right of your screen in the black number 1. I saw him get up high. I didn't see him go around. Now we look down the backstretch, and there's the 07 of Jack Landis going around. This is how it began. Russ Tuttle got up into the wall high in 2, brought it off the wall safely, and you can see Landis jumping on the brakes there. He jerked the car to the inside to get away, and I think he had a tank slapper going there, Steve. He went right around because I think the weight transfer as he made that quick move left was what turned him back to the right-hand side.
Yeah, and you know what, Rick, this is actually a good break for the guys who stayed out and didn't pit. They had about 60, 65 laps on their tires, so this caution a fortuitous break for many teams.
So we are under caution here. The Pontiac safety car, the Grand Prix, that is the official pace car in the year 2000 of the ASA AC Delco Series up on the racetrack. David Stremme in the 27, among those who did not stop at the last opportunity. He, though, will take this opportunity to bring the Robert Hamke Pontiac down on the pit road. Garvey comes in. Brian Ross is in. Wimmer is in. Pyle is in. Virtually everyone on the lead lap. The 44 comes onto pit road. Tim Taylor, Greg Stewart, St.Amant, Dupuis, Rick Beebe. And Bob Diller is standing by in the Lefevre pit for Mike Garvey.
Mike Garvey is in right now, and his right front tire actually goes out into pit road. He stalls the car, but gets back out there. He radioed into the crew, said, I think the left side tires are fine, guys, but I definitely need some rights because I'm feeling a little vibration.
Now, he had started with new tires on the last caution, so he did not run many laps on those right sides.
No, as you said, Rick, there were 5 or 6 cars, the 27, the 53, the 8 of Pyle, 05 of Wimmer, 44 Dismore, and the 11 of Dupuis that stayed out. Well, Garvey did come in, and now he came back in again. Wonder what's going on there.
Let's go back downstairs to Bob. He says there is, in fact, a problem with one of those tires.
Well, guys, you got to take a look at this. Mike Garvey predicted it right. The tire just peeling off the right rear of Mike Garvey's car. This will definitely not be good for a handling situation. They're definitely going to keep an eye on this for the rest of the race. But wow, incredible tire. Rubber just peeling off that BFG.
When the surface of the tire isn't smooth, that's what would translate to the driver feeling a vibration through the seat and through the steering wheel. So obviously Garvey did need to stop and put right sides on. And this shuffles the deck tremendously. Let's show it to you again. We're on board here. Up ahead you can see Russ Tuttle bounce off the wall. I believe we're on Robbie Pyle's machine, and there you see Jack Landis spinning and locking the brakes up. Good move by Landis. Keep that car up high on the racetrack.
The BF Goodrich officials told the guys, if you feel a vibration, get to pit road and change tires. That's what Garvey did.
And that's what we saw with the necessity there If the tires are in fact chunking on the outside in a few cases, you do want to get in and get those tires removed quickly. Back live at Winchester Speedway, Winchester, Indiana on TNN Sports. The ASA AC Delco Series. Your leader is Ricky Johnson, the Nationwide Auction System Chevrolet. Right behind him, Mike Miller and the Janet King Pontiac, the 18, the black and white car. They did not stop for tires on the last caution just a few laps ago. These two drivers decided to stay out, go for track position. We're not quite to halfway, only 131 of 400 laps on the board here today. Look at the battle deeper in the pack. Butch Miller in the 52, Brandon Sperling in the 40, Russ Tuttle in the Conseco Pontiac, the 16 car. You're on board again with Robbie Pyle in the Young Motorsports number 8 down the front straightaway. Scott Hansen battling there with Butch Miller. Those two certainly know each other well. That is a battle for 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th right now. As we jump on board last week's winner, Butch Miller in the 52. Butch has not really gotten on track now. His pit stop cycle a little different from many of the other teams, so don't worry if you're a Butch Miller fan. No. Not likely to be back in 17th when the checkered flag falls here today.
And Rick, as we said, we're going to have to keep an eye on this all race long because some guys are just going to have different strategy. Hey, you see the silver 53 there?
Yeah.
Brian Ross was having a great run in the top 5. They had a problem on pit road. They dropped the jack. Brian went to take off, but they hadn't tightened the lug nuts. But he was having a great run. He's from Plymouth, Indiana, 4th in the Arca-Fondo Marhide point standings right now.
Ross being shown right now back in 24th spot. A couple of laps down to the leaders. That ultra-long stop on pit road did cost him the 2 laps. On board, Gary St.Amant, the USAMeets.com inside car look.
Let's go outside.
We had that 360-degree camera working. It was great to get a look around at all the other cars that Gary was working in traffic. Well, unfortunately, we've lost the look. Ouch, gosh.
No more roof cam.
Brand new technology.
Technology from Paul Boykin and no more roof cam.
We debut it here today, and it's a short afternoon for the new Boykin roof cam.
Is it insured?
I hope so. Knowing Paul, I'm sure it is.
Oh, boy.
Gary St.Amant working on his 2nd ASA National Championship in 3 years. He has clinched the championship. All he needed was to finish 30th or better here today. More than 5 cars have dropped out. Gary can finish no worse unofficially than 28th at the moment. So we have crowned him the champion for 2000. Ricky Johnson remains your leader in the Herzog Chevrolet, the 22. It's been a long time coming for this young man. Finally had a good outing at IRP, and then the race previous to that, a couple of good finishes after a long stretch where he was having trouble even being in the top 10. Here's Kevin Sawinski starting to rumble in the Texas Roadhouse 21. He is running 9th once, 8th from Tim Taylor, and he gets the spot with the inside move.
And there haven't been that many cars that can make that pass on the inside, as you mentioned, Rick. But boy, Kevin made it look easy on that time.
Sawinski now starting to pull away from Taylor just a little bit. He's got a long way to go, though, to catch up to the driver in front of him. That would be Greg Stewart running 7th. The battle back behind him, David Stremme, Tristan Dupuis. They're running 9th, 10th, and 11th. Taylor in 9th spot in the white 28 car, then Dupuis in the yellow 11, and Stremme in the blue 27 machine. All fighting for position here as we work the middle portion of the 400 lap.
Rick, you had mentioned that Stremme runs the Indiana Late Model Series here. You know, he's from South Bend, Indiana, and this is his 8th start of the ASA 2000 season. Tim Taylor's in the wall.
Taylor in the wall hard up in turn 1. The car went right up the racetrack and belted the wall with the right front corner of that machine, so caution is out for the 6th time this afternoon. A couple of cars caught on pit road, primarily the 5 of Scott Hansen. Hansen had made a green flag pit stop for tires, and this will not benefit his chances here today, the 2-time winner. Taylor's already dropped the window net on that car. He knows he's got severe trouble. This looks like a replay of what happened to Glenn Allen Jr.'s machine, Steve.
Right front tire, Rick. Flat as a fritter.
And it has locked up, so he brings that car to a screeching halt at the top of pit road. We'll show it to you again. Now Taylor racing for position here. He was back in that battle with Dupuis and Stremme for 8th, 9th, and 10th. They go down into 1, look at it wiggle, and right up the racetrack.
Not a thing he could do about it, and Tristan Dupuis in the number 11 almost gets into the back of him, but safely by. Watch Tristan go on the bottom as Tim Taylor starts to go to the top. Tristan can see what's happening. He says, "Ooh, I need to get down."
There was that telltale puff of smoke out of the front of the car, too.
And the wiggle.
Dived right,
as you mentioned, Rick, the wiggle.
So hard, heavy contact with the outside retaining wall here at Winchester for the 28 of Tim Taylor. Talk about that run of bad luck that you referenced a couple of times, Steve. It certainly continues here today for Taylor out of South Bend, Indiana. Out of Indianapolis, we should say. Tim actually races out of Indy. So the leaders will come onto pit road. Ricky Johnson and Mike Miller disdaining a pit stop the last time they had the opportunity, but they will come down pit road this time. Mike Miller in the Jana King Pontiac, his best run in quite some time. Ricky Johnson will get right side tires. Mike Miller will come to the attention of Carl Hyland and the crew in the Jana King pits. Bob Dillner is there. And we'll talk to Bob in just a moment. Right side tires going on the Jana King Pontiac. Fuel going in that car as well. And there's the Ricky Johnson team, the Herzog group, going for left side tires. They're going to do a 4-tire change, Steve.
Yep, they changed right side. And, you know, normally on a track of this size, ASA officials said you can only change right side, but because of the severity of the tire problem here, they said you can go ahead and change four. So pretty good idea for Ricky Johnson to slap on four as we near the midway point.
Mike Miller down and away quickly. Carl Hyland taking some extra time with that team. Butch Miller also on pit road in the Meyer Stores Pontiac. Butch had gotten up to 11th when the yellow came out. His crew servicing that machine, and Butch is down and away as well. So the safety car will pick up the one of Mike Garvey as your restart leader. Now, Garvey's been maybe the quickest car on the racetrack for much of the action here this afternoon. Jump on board with Butch Miller going down into turn one. See if we can get another look at Taylor's slap into the wall. There you see it up ahead. The 28 had gotten into the fence, and Butch goes by on the low side. The 28 car going behind the wall on the hook. Ted Smokestad's car finally down and away, so Ted will rejoin the race, but Tim Taylor looks as though he's going behind the wall for the afternoon. 146 of 400 laps complete. Mike Garvey will have the restart pole when we get going again. Welcome back to Winchester Speedway in Winchester, Indiana. The ASA AC Delco Series here on TNN Sports. The Winchester 400, and we've got trouble again. Just restarting, and Kevin Sawinski has popped the outside wall in turn 3 and 4, and that sets off a big jam up coming to the head of the straightaway. Russ Tuttle and Robbie Pyle have come together as well. Tuttle's car heavily damaged. He tagged Pyle in the left rear corner. You had that brief onboard look from Pyle's machine. Robbie refires the 8 and pulls away, but the Conseco Pontiac, I think, is going to be headed to the house here most likely this afternoon.
Yeah, he's running out of fiberglass on that car rapidly.
Russ doesn't have a window that's available to see out of at the moment with the hood bodywork pushed up the way it is on the 16 car. Short track action, lots of contact here at Winchester, and the crew will go to work on the 21, the Texas Roadhouse Chevrolet of Kevin Sawinski, 1997's American Speed Association national champion. Bob Dillner, right front tire, an issue there too, perhaps?
Well, some big-time problems on the front end for Kevin Sawinski's car. He came off of turn number 4 and just slapped the wall. You would speculate it looked like a tire went down, but we do not know for sure. Right now, Brian Dantine and the crew taking a look to see if there's any more damage. A bunch of bodywork and a broken right front shock, we are told. They're going to fix that and try to get him back out there.
Don't want to go too far out on the limb as far as the tire situation, but as we have documented, B.F. Goodrich had concerns about the tires that came here to Winchester. They did not test here. The tires have shown some extreme signs of wear, some chunking particularly in several cases today, and we've had a couple of incidents where cars have done that, gone right up the track and into the wall, and B.F. Goodrich acknowledges the situation. Let's take a look at Sawinski battling here with Greg Stewart for 6th spot as he works into 3, and there's the wiggle and up into the outside wall.
Yeah, it's a terrible break for Kevin Sawinski. Was, you know, even though we had said that Gary St.Amant had clinched the championship, Kevin's had a tremendous season. He's had 6 finishes of 8th or better, Rick, in the last 6 races, 14 top 10s. They've had a tremendous season with the exception of winning.
Yeah, frustrated that they haven't been to victory lane yet. Kevin came back with the stated goal of being able to win races again. That's one of the big reasons why he's back in the ASA AC Delco Series for Lefebvre Racing. Mike Garvey, who's been the leader, is on pit road. They're putting right side tires again on Garvey's Tecumseh Chevrolet. That's a story we told you about back 20 or 30 laps ago. Garvey had a tire coming apart, even though he was running up front. He brought it in, felt the vibration. They put new right side rubber on. They're doing 4 tires this time, actually, on the 1 car. And how about this? Russ Tuttle, I pronounced him behind the wall or about to be behind the wall. They're saying no. They're going to pull that bodywork off. They're going to tape it back in place and send Russ back out there, it appears.
Hey, Rick, when you have bad guys shooting at you,
True.
Is a little body damage going to slow you down?
Probably
Negative.
not. Probably not. Russ is as tough a customer as you'll find anywhere. Down and away after some quick service work. Now the hood still flapping. He'll have to come back in trying to salvage a lap here. I'm surprised a little bit that he would go back out with that hood sitting the way it is, crossways in the front of the car. Perhaps the ASA AC Delco Series officials didn't get a good look at the 16 when it went by that time, but you think they would have kept him from going back out on the racetrack with that. But
I think he's trying to keep from losing his lap.
I think so, absolutely. He's going to come around and come back onto pit road. Scott Hansen on pit road for left side tires on the Don Finetti Ford, the 5 car. Here comes Russ back again. I'm sure they've got the 200-mile-an-hour tape ready to throw on the front of that thing. Try to get a new front grill cap on the machine. The hood being pulled away. For now, they're just going to do some surgery there and pull that bodywork off the car. There's Butch Miller on the pit road as well as the work continues on Kevin Sawinski's machine. Talking about Sawinski's wreck as we watch the field behind the pace car here. 156 laps of 400 are complete. Bob Dillner told us that they had a broken right front shock on the 21, so we don't want to say one way or another. The shock could have broken first, certainly, and caused that incident.
Well, if that shock broke, that could have put him into the walls. Butch Miller is on pit road. Hey, Rick, Butch Miller has some amazing numbers on this racetrack. As we said, he's only one of 2 racers in this race who have won here. 18 races, 2 wins, 10 top 10s, and he's led 7 times for over 700 laps.
Certainly knows his way around. Doesn't particularly like it here, but certainly knows his way around here. I don't think there's a racetrack in the country Butch Miller doesn't know his way around. 19 career starts here, the 2 victories along with 3 poles, and right at the moment Butch Miller shown at the top of the field, although he did come onto pit road and will give up that spot. Crew working still on Russ Tuttle's machine. You're on board with Robbie Pyle here. Everybody on the brakes. I think that Robbie might have gotten tagged from behind as Russ Tuttle went for the brakes as well. We got a quick look ahead at what was going on with Kevin Sawinski's car. This is a look from Butch Miller's Meyer Pontiac. There you see, it looks like the 8 car had gotten in the wall already. Tuttle goes around. Tuttle and the 8 had made contact. That was not the 8. It was Scott Hansen that had gotten up in the wall.
Rick, you know the other thing I've noticed about Butch Miller, of course, you worked with him up in the booth. He walked by yesterday, he goes, I hate this place, I hate this place. And every time he says that, he runs good.
Sure does. It's his mantra. No doubt about it. Butch back on the racetrack. Safety car dives in. 158 laps are on the board. Green flag from Danny Spence, and we're back underway. Scott Wimmer is your restart leader. Gary St.Amant, the new ASA national champion, is second. Joey Clanton restarts third. Bob Dillner, Gary St.Amant's bunch. Are they ready to break out the champagne yet? And we'll talk to Bob in just a couple of moments as we watch the 3 lead cars up in 1 and 2. That's a battle for second. St.Amant has claimed the 2000 ASA National Championship. Joey Clanton just wants to claim another victory and perhaps the Pat Shaw Rookie of the Year award as well with a good run today. Bob Dillner, have they put those championship T-shirts on?
Well, they are smiling right now, but Bill McGowan, crew chief of Gary St.Amant, can we call you champs now?
Well, I can't really hear you right now, but we're not really thinking about the championship right now. We're excited about that, but we're trying to race this racetrack. It's a pretty tough one, so I'm sure it'll set in right after the race ends.
And Steve, Rick, Gary told us he doesn't necessarily like this racetrack.
I think he's going to change his opinion of Winchester, though, if he does, in fact, hoist that championship trophy based on his finish here today. And as we have said, he will, because he cannot finish worse than 30th here this afternoon, and that will give him the 2000 ASA National Championship worth $200,000, and it couldn't go to a better guy and a better ambassador for this series.
Gary St.Amant is a great champion. Rick, listen to these numbers. He's been first in the points since the very first race of the year in Lakeland. He has 14 top 5s.
Unbelievable.
The record is 15, which, you know, he could tie here today. 0 DNFs. He's never dropped out of a race this year. He's completed over 99% of his laps. Take a look at Ricky Johnson getting loose there, but boy, Gary St.Amant is in fact a great champion.
Ricky almost collecting Brandon Sperling and the 53 of Brian Ross. Had to get off the gas up there in 1 and 2 as we watch that battle for second. St.Amant has second right now. Joey Clanton rides third, and how about Greg Stewart, involved in that second caution of the day very early in the going on the backstretch, went around, got clipped a couple of times. Unbelievable to me that Greg Stewart could sit fourth in this thing almost at halfway.
And remember, he led 40 laps at I-70 in the middle of the summer and darn near won that race. It's very similar type of racetrack.
On board with Gary St.Amant, the USAMeets.com camera, looking back at Joey Clanton's EchoSource83.com Pontiac. Battle here for Tristan Dupuis and Mark Dismore going at it for 6th. Dupuis has the spot. Mark E. Dismore wants the position in the Monster.com Chevrolet, and he gets by the Edie's Frechetta Go-Go Auto Parts Pontiac, the 11th. How about the Kansas Rocket Man, Rick Beebe, up at 8th. Best run he's had in a long time in Jerry Gunderman's All-Star AFCO Pontiac. That's the white 23 car right behind.
Boy, they've had awful luck. We talked about that last week. Rick Beebe thought he was going to contend for the championship. Just terrible luck.
Let's just say, if you're going to Las Vegas, Rick Beebe and Tim Taylor would not be on your guest list.
No, they would not.
How about Larry Foyt and the Harris Pontiac? Speaking of going to Las Vegas, right behind those three drivers, Larry Foyt has raced his way back into the top 10. He led the first 40 or so laps here today from the pole, got out of cycle on pit stops, has very patiently bided his time, raced the racetrack, and look at this, Steve. He's sitting back there at ninth spot.
Yeah, he's doing a great job, showing a lot of maturity for a rookie driver. Larry right now is 19th in the point standings. He's had some good runs, but you know, he's one of those guys, Rick, that he's run well, but he hasn't always finished well. You need to put both halves of that equation together.
We don't talk about this very much, but after observing this sport for more than 30 years, one of the things I think that's very important is what they call in open wheel racing racecraft. Not just how fast you are, not just how good you are in traffic, but what kind of strategy do you employ to be at the front at the end of a long race? That's where Larry, I think, hasn't quite learned all he needs to know yet. Butch Miller and A.J. Foyt, two of the best teachers I could imagine for that part of racing school, and I'm sure he will learn as the years go on.
And what's the old saying that we hear in racing, to finish first, you must first finish?
Absolutely.
You've got to learn how to finish these races. Anybody can be fast for a little while. You've got to be fast over the long haul.
Watching Foyt and Tristan Dupuis battle it out. Again, this is 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th under contest. Your leader, though, a guy we haven't talked much about lately, but we will when we come back. Scott Wimmer from Wisconsin, the rookie, going for his third win of the season. Not too far from halfway, and a lead change, and you saw it happen right there at Winchester. Scott Wimmer in the 05 had been out in front, slipped up into the wall in 3 and 4. Joey Clanton scooted by in the Steve Dale 83. Clanton is your new leader. Wimmer off the pace in the 05, tries to bring the car back up to speed. We'll see what's wrong, or whether he's going to come on to pit road or be able to maintain. He's going to get passed here by Gary St.Amant for second. Show it to you again, just as we were coming back from commercial. Wimmer leading in the 05, loses it, moves up and slaps the wall up in turn 3. Clanton goes to the low side to get by, and just like that, we have a new leader. Wimmer back up to speed, apparently, in the 05, but Steve Burns, if I was racing here at Winchester, I wouldn't feel too safe in my race car having side-slapped the wall like that.
No, and you know, up there in turn 4, you have got to run on the ragged edge, and you've got to run on the high side. And boy, he got just a hair loose, and he was in the wall just that quick. And Joey Clanton did a great job, Rick, of not, you know, backing off the gas. He stayed in the gas and got right past it.
So Clanton is sailing out in front right now in the EchoSource83.com Pontiac. He's got a big lead over Gary St.Amant. Wimmer back on the button is third, but Wimmer now is about 10 seconds behind the leader. So give Clanton the point after starting 18th. He's raced his way to the front. The young driver who won his first race in Memphis a couple of weeks ago. Certainly strong here today. Another young driver who is very strong here today, but unfortunately won't have a good finish to show for it. Standing by with Bob Dillner.
Well, it'll be Tim Taylor's 6th straight finish of 20th or worse. Tim, tell me what happened.
Just going into one, and the right front tire was just real unfortunate. We come here and tested a few weeks ago, and ended up having to work on the car all week. Didn't get here until almost qualifying. Ended up having a good qualifying run. We just can't have any luck. Done just about everything but one thing, a witch doctor. I think that's where I'm going to go this week.
Uh-oh, witch doctor, look out.
A lot of things you can do to change your luck, they say, in racing. I'm not one that believes in that necessarily, but maybe it's time for him to paint the race car green or something like that.
Maybe Tim Taylor ought to do what the women's softball team did at the Olympics. They all took showers, the whole team with their clothes on, to wash away the voodoo. Maybe Tim Taylor needs to do that.
Well, it worked in the Olympics.
Yeah.
They won the gold medal again after a tough couple of weeks where they lost some ball games they weren't expecting to. Here's Joey Clanton working on Tristan Dupuis in the 11 car now. Dupuis running 16th. So Clanton about to put the 16th place driver a lap down, but we've got caution on the speedway. Yellow flag on the speedway. We understand this will be an ASA mandated caution to give teams an opportunity to come to pit road, take a look at their tires, change them if they want to, as we approach halfway here in the Winchester 400. The Pontiac pace car, the Pontiac Grand Prix for the year 2000 from the ASA AC Delco Series, up onto the racetrack on the backside to pick up Joey Clanton as your race leader. And everyone else will settle down and settle in behind Clanton and get ready for the second half of this one.
Rick, you brought up a good point. The ASA race officials threw the yellow flag, but this is not a competition yellow. They do not have to change tires, but they recommend that they do bring them in, at least look at them to make sure they're not chunking, as Bob Dillner showed us earlier in the race.
So Joey Clanton has the lead for now. You're on board with Robbie Pyle, the Van Camp's Beans camera, as he moves to the inside of Butch Miller. Remember, Pyle got caught up in that spin and contact with Russ Tuttle on the front stretch 20 or 30 laps ago. Pyle's still on the pace. He is 15th. He's just one position away from going a lap down. He's right in front of Tristan Dupuis, and they are the last couple of cars on the lead lap right now. Looks like Clanton and St.Amant and Wimmer, the top three. David Stremme, who runs fourth in the 27, will be among those drivers coming to the inside, coming to pit road to at least take a look at their tire situation and decide what they're going to do. So Clanton slowly, watching the ASA speed limit on pit road, will bring the field down. And Joey comes to the attention of the Steve Dale crew. Bob Dillner is on pit road as well, and he's going to take a look for us at Gary St.Amant's pit stop, as well as at Scott Wimmer's. Let's go to Bob.
Gary St.Amant pulls his Win Chevrolet, and the crew will go to work on the right side right now. Gary's saying the car's actually handling very well here. Scott Wimmer, his crew also going to work on the right side. Looks like the right front tire beat up a little bit. You can see some cement in the right front tire from where Wimmer hit the wall. A little bit of a long pit stop for Scott Wimmer. 2 tires, 4-tire stop for Gary St.Amant. His crew working on the left side right now.
So Wimmer's down and away. St.Amant's crew taking their time on the Lane Automotive Chevrolet. We take you inside the Champions race car for the year 2000. As we mentioned many times this year, they have had a situation this season. You couldn't write a better script. They have been the model of consistency, and that's what you need to win one of these national titles in the American Speed Association. Gary St.Amant has closed the deal here this afternoon. A lot of racing yet to come, though, in Winchester. Ready to drop the green flag over Mike Miller of the Janet King Pontiac just at halfway. 200 to 400 laps are on the board here at Winchester Speedway in Indiana. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns and Bob Dillner. Today's TNN Sports coverage of the American Speed Association, the 19th of 20 events in the 2000 season. Your leader is Miller. He is the only one of the lead lap cars, Steve Burns, that elected not to come in for tires during that ASA-mandated caution period to check things out. Miller scooting away to about a 6-car length lead. Mike Garvey is second. David Stremme with another strong performance. And Robert Hamke's Pontiac, he rides third in that blue 27 car.
Yeah, David Stremme having a great run. This is just his 8th race of the season. He's got 2 top 10s, including one last week at IRP. So, hey, he's a Hoosier, so he should run good here.
The ISES Enterprises machine right behind him, a little further back. How about Greg Stewart from Four Oaks, North Carolina, in the white 33 car? You're with us at the top of the show. You saw Stewart caught up in a wreck on the backstretch, brought out one of the early cautions. The car's got body damage. You can see the tire donut on the left side there, and you can see a little bit of fiberglass that's kind of hanging loose, but Stewart has been on the button throughout this race and has run very, very strongly. He sits right now in fourth ahead of Rick Beebe, who's having his best run in a long time. Jerry Gunderman's All-Star Pontiac, that's the 23 car.
Hey, Greg Stewart said there's no rhyme or reason as to why he runs good on the high bank tracks. He just likes to manhandle the race car.
Scott Wimmer in the 05 had been leading before the previous caution came out. He and Joey Clanton were getting set to fight for the lead. And Wimmer got into the wall up in turns 3 and 4, and the word from the crew is that Wimmer just had to get away from him. He just got a little loose up there, got up in the marbles, and slid into the wall. Didn't damage the car, didn't cut down a tire. They did come in and change tires and inspect the car, but Wimmer is back on the racetrack in the 05 car. He is not in contention at the moment, though. He is not in the hunt. He's in 6th, but he's a long way behind the lead pack of cars.
But he is passing race cars. I just saw him pass 2 on the last lap, Rick. So, you know, maybe he obviously has enough time to get back up there. He still may be a factor yet.
There's Wimmer in the 05, the 44 of Mark Dismore, the 22 of Ricky Johnson, who's got a good run going today in that Nationwide Auction System Chevrolet from the Herzog shops. Wimmer right now 6th, Dismore 7th, Johnson is 8th, and Joey Clanton was the leader before that round of pit stops and cautions. Joey Clanton has raced his way back to 9th. Let's find out more on what's going on strategy-wise on pit road. Back to Bob Dillner.
Well, Rick, I think everybody wants to know, why didn't Mike Miller pit? Carl Hyland, what's the answer?
Well, Bob, I tell you what, we're getting exceptional tire wear out of the BFGs, and we're not getting nowhere near the damage on the right rear tire that everybody else is, I don't think. The car's real good, stable. Mike likes it. We're going to be good for the long run, I think. Here we'll be all right.
Why are you not getting the damage that everybody else is getting on the tire?
Well, Everybody else out here is running a lot less diagonal than what we're running. We're running just a ton across. Our right rear tire is probably 100-pound lighter on the ground than everybody else is. That's one contributing factor for us not using the right rear tire as bad as everybody else is. But for Janet King and everybody, I'll tell you what, we got a good car. Hopefully we'll be there at the end.
How about that, Rick? Maybe a secret setup.
Carl Hyland is a sharp guy. Mike Miller is a mechanical engineer. They know a lot about these race cars. It hasn't shown all the time this year because they have struggled with equipment that, quite honestly, is maybe not as well funded as some of the other teams and maybe not as fresh. But Miller and Hyland doing a great job to lead here today at Winchester. Back home again in Indiana, Winchester Speedway, Winchester, Indiana. First time in 9 years the ASA AC Delco Series has come here to run the Winchester 400. Talk about a guy who knows his way around all kinds of racetracks and has been around a long time. Your leader is Mike Miller of the Janet King Pontiac, the great veteran. There's the 42, Ted Smokestad. The eWeb21.com Chevrolet out of the Eaton Stables. The 42 car, Smokestad back in 22nd spot. There's David Stremme running third behind Mike Garvey. Got a quick glimpse of Garvey, who is second in the race right now behind Mike Miller. That's the ISES Pontiac. We're going to take you through the field here quickly. Greg Stewart in the 33. Meantime, the battle for the lead heating up. We'll get back to that in a moment. Garvey to the outside is going to try to get the top spot away as we take a look down the back straightaway. Garvey in the one, just sneaking the nose of the Tecumseh Chevrolet by Miller to take the top spot. Garvey winging it on the high side, but he's got traffic in front of him. Dupuis is there, as is Brandon Sperling. Now, Sperling in the 40, not up in that lead group of cars. He is 16th right now, trying to hang with Dupuis, but it looks as though Garvey has made the pass good. He has gotten by Miller, and Mike Miller will settle down into second spot. But, you know, Carl Hyland said something a few moments ago, Steve Burns, really rang true for me. Watching Mike now in the second season that I've been around this tour, he runs a different setup weight-wise on the car than a lot of guys do. His mechanical engineering knowledge, also Carl Hyland's setup knowledge. It wouldn't surprise me if they have a tire wear gambit going today.
Yeah, and they talk about how they distribute weight in the race car from the right side to the left side. And, you know, the thing about it is, we were talking before the race, the guy who was going to be able to be fast at the end was the one that's going to win this race, not the guy that went out and lights the racetrack on fire.
We're going to resume our pan back through the field now. Rick Johnson is 6th in the 22 car. You saw Rick Beebe 5th in the 23. There's Mark Dismore in the Monster.com 44. Johnson's teammate, he's right there in 7th. So the two Herzog cars 6th and 7th. And there's Joey Clanton, who's led a lot of laps here today. I think we'll hear more from Clanton before the afternoon is done. He is 8th in the EchoSource83.com machine. Who's behind him? How about the 2000 ASA champion Gary St.Amant, and the Good Wrench wins Chevrolet. Gary runs in 9th spot, and we take you inside the Bud Gebbett Chevrolet down the back straightaway here. Rounding out the top 10, we'll look back behind the 7. Guy we haven't heard much from of late. We need to find out what's happening for Tim Sauter. He's been very busy, not with the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet of late. Bob Miller will tell us more about that later. Sauter, the winner of the title 1 year ago, trying for a good finish here today. There's the 53 car. That's Brian Ross, and Ross was in contention earlier, but he's had problems. He's back in 17th spot. The MC Sports Dunlop Golf machine, Dave Sensiba in the 6th. He's back in 11th. And we work our way back to the next machine in line. That's the 14 of Larry Foyt, the pole sitter, who led a lot of laps here today. But Bob Dillner, they've gone 5 laps down. What happened to Larry Foyt?
A very tough break for the Harris team. He had to come down under green. They lost 5 laps. As you said, they had the studs on the right front pushed through the hub. That's not what you want to have happen. They lost 5 laps in the pits repairing that car.
Tough break indeed for the A.J. Foyt Butch Miller team. They have certainly done a great job here today. This, though, the battle for the lead. Mike Miller coming back on Mike Garvey. Miller in the Janet King Pontiac down low. Garvey in the black Tecumseh Chevrolet up high manages to hold off the 18 car as they whistle back into turn 1.
Mike Garvey with 4 wins this season, Rick. The last time he won, most recently at Milwaukee, August 27th. Great year for Mike if he hadn't had that other number he doesn't like, 5 DNFs.
And really, we thought Garvey, after he won the race in Milwaukee, might be able to get up and contend for the championship, but the month of September was a washout for Mike Garvey.
Well, he finished 5th at Minneapolis there on Labor Day, but then the killer for Mike Garvey finished 30th at Memphis.
How about Mike Miller? 1 win this year for Miller. Hasn't won one, though, since Montgomery, Alabama, early in the year. We continue our swing back through the field, looking at the top 10 machines. There's St.Amant and Sauter in the 53 and Sensiba. There's the 8 of Robbie Pyle. He qualified up front and ran up front early. Has had one incident today with Russ Tuttle, who's out of the race. Robbie is 12th, though. There's Butch Miller in the Meyer Pontiac sitting 13th. And Bob Dillner, he's quick. We know Butch has won here. There's a lot of laps left to run here today. Can Butch get up there and contend this afternoon?
Well, they're having a lot of problems with that 52 car right now, Rick. They brought it in the last pit stop because they knew the track bar was actually hitting the drive shaft. They moved the track bar up one round, but right now it's still hitting on that drive shaft.
Wow. Tough indeed for Butch. He is on the lead lap, but Miller in the 52 car sitting back in 13th spot. Battle for the lead down the front stretch, and how about this? Mike Miller has gotten by Mike Garvey, and Garvey seems to be off the pace in the Tecumseh Chevrolet. He slips up high. David Stremme goes by for second. Garvey, you were talking about his DNF situation this year, Steve Burns. Hate to call him out of the race at this point, but he is clearly off the leader's pace.
Seems like something's wrong with Garvey, but boy, Stremme went by him like a shot going by.
Well, Miller did the same thing. Garvey was clearly stronger up until a couple of moments ago than Mike Miller. I think he may have dropped a cylinder. It sounds like the engine's running rough from what I can hear. There's Mike Miller, your leader now in the Jana King Pontiac, and there is Garvey back in third spot in the Tecumseh Chevrolet. Trying to hang in and stay out there, but Garvey does not appear to be at the leader's pace. There's the 5 car. That would be, of course, Scott Hansen running 19th in Don Fedetti's STI Structural Transport Ford. Take you back through the field on the back straightaway now. We watch for traffic coming off the second corner. There's David Bonnet and Alan Caton's Chevrolet, the 75, the Dunlop Golf machine today. David soldiering on out there. Not a good afternoon for him, but he is 17th, and he is showing 3 laps down to the leaders for David Bonnet from Alabama, of course. And right behind him is your leader, Mike Miller. Scott Wimmer on the backstretch, perhaps off the pace as well, but on the pace definitely is the driver going for his second win of the season, Mike Miller in the Jana King Pontiac. Back live at Winchester Speedway, Winchester, Indiana. The Winchester 400 today for the ASA AC Delco Series. And a reminder to check out wrenchhead.com, your online automotive superstore with millions of replacement parts, performance parts, and accessories. Free shipping always to at wrenchhead.com with parts online all the time. Caution waving for the 8th time this afternoon. This is the second, though, of what you might call a competition yellow. Not truly a competition caution, but very similar. ASA mandating the caution after 50 green flag laps, so the teams have the opportunity, without being penalized, to come on pit road, check their tire wear. If you were with us at the top of the broadcast, we've explained how the tires, especially on the right side of the race cars, are showing extreme wear. In fact, some chunking taking place here this weekend. So the BF Goodrich engineers on hand, the ASA officials, and the teams all working together to keep things safe on the racetrack. The cars will come out of pit road. Crews will get a chance to take a look at the tires, change if they need to, and get ready for the next sprint of green flag racing. It's been a while since we've talked about David Anspaugh, badly injured in a practice wreck at Milwaukee back several weeks ago when his car hit the first turn wall and flipped. David suffering a head injury. He is in care in his home area now, and there has been a fund set up, the Raising the Superintendent Fund. If you'd like to help the Anspaugh family, you can send your contribution to the First National Bank of Fremont to the attention of Ginny Holton at box 357 there in Angola, Indiana. The zip is 46703, and make your check payable to Raising the Superintendent. David Anspaugh from Sturgis, Michigan. He's been moved to a facility near his home in Sturgis. Talked to his brother Frank a week ago at Raceway Park in Indianapolis. The family very thankful for all the cards and prayers and support that they've gotten from everyone in the motorsports community. It's going to be a long road back for David Anspaugh. Our thoughts and prayers with the family. Let's go downstairs. Bob Dillner on pit road.
Mike Miller has brought his Johnny King Pontiac on pit road. Carl Heinlein and the boys going to work on the right side right now. Want to take a the gun jams on the right rear. Trouble. They grab the spare gun, going to work on the left rear right now, but they left the gun on the right rear after a jam. A 4-tire stop for Mike Miller. Looks like pretty good tire wear, as Carl Heinlein speculated, but a long pit stop for Mike Miller.
Tough break indeed for the race leader, looking for his second win of what's been a struggle for him this season. Mike Miller and the Jana King Pontiac second in the championship chase by only 6 points to Tim Sauter a year ago. Had championship hopes coming into this season, but they have struggled mightily for much of the year.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll tell you how good he's been running. It's been 91 laps since they changed tires, wow. Rick. So tough break for Mike Miller. He runs over the air hose. There's the one that jammed Bob Dillner told you about. Puts it in gear and tough tough break for Mike Miller.
Absolutely. Not much they could do about that. Mike Miller with a 4-tire stop. Everyone else on pit road taking just 2. So Mike gives up some track position. But 146 laps to go. You've got to anticipate probably 2 more cautions like this if we have all green flag action. Butch Miller's team on pit road once again with a 52 car. Butch looking at things as the crew of Mike Miller's machine inspects a tire. Welcome back to Winchester Speedway in Winchester, Indiana. The ASA AC Delco Series here on TNN Sports. 19th race of the 2000 season. Mike Garvey is back at the front of the class. Even though he fell off the pace a little while ago, about 30 laps ago, he was leading, gave up the point to Mike Miller. Looked as though the car was off pace, but it's come back to full song, and Mike Garvey is once again your leader. National champions Gary St.Amant rides second. Gary clinching the title here today. Only needed to finish 30th or better. And right now, we're showing 10 cars out of the race. Mike Miller in the 18 had been the leader before that ASA mandated caution. He's on the racetrack in 10th. Got the freshest tires of anyone, though, with 4 new ones. Took 90-some laps between tire stops, so they are doing much better in the tire wear category than anybody. Bob Miller, that could be the winning combination today for Mike Miller.
Much better, maybe not, Rick. The top of the tire looks great, but the sidewall has been ripped right open. In fact, if I peel this back right there, I can actually see the cords of that tire. Carl Hyland, the crew chief, looked at me and said, thank God we got that caution. As far as Scott Wimmer goes, he hit the wall many laps ago. He thinks he bent something in the steering of that car. And as for Mike Garvey, you guys mentioned that he fell back. He was doing that old Mark Martin maneuver. He said the other guys were just too quick at that point. I'll let him go.
Wow. Smart. You seem to be that way because Garvey has taken advantage, and he is once again the leader in car number 1. He's lapping by Scott Whitmer. We're watching, though, the battle with the 27 of David Stremme, the 9 of Tim Sauter, the 18 of Mike Miller. That's for 8th, 9th, and 10th on the racetrack. Here's your lead group of cars, and Mike Garvey and the Tecumseh Chevrolet is out in front as they put lap 265 on the board. 135 to go here at Winchester. Gary St.Amant rides second. Greg Stewart is third. Good run for Stewart today in the white number 33, the Stewart Racing X1R Pontiac out of North Carolina. 4th spot at the moment belongs to Ricky Johnson, his teammate Mark Dismore 5th. Steve Burns, how good a run is this for Ricky Johnson and that Herzog team?
Well, it's a great run for Ricky Johnson. You know, since he finished 70 in that thrilling finish at Louisville early this season when he went over the dirt in turn 4. It's been kind of tough for Ricky, but he had a great run at IRP going, and you know, he wants to win so badly. He was a superstar in Supercross racing, but desperately wants to do well here in stock car racing.
Mark Dismore with another good run, too, in the 44. And Mark, in his rookie season in stock cars, had a thrill last Saturday night. His dad, Mark Dismore, we won't call him senior, but Father Mark Dismore. Well, that makes him sound like a priest. I guess that's not probably right either. But anyway, Mark ran against his son. Father and son raced each other a week ago. Mark Sr. was doing a great job in the 43 car for the Herzogs before he got wrecked late in the going. He was 8th at the time.
Yeah, I was going to say he was inside the top 10 and headed to the front, so it must have been a big thrill for both father and son to race against each other.
We'll try to continue our swing through the field. Here's your lead group. That's Garvey and the 1 out in front. St.Amant rides second. He has wrapped up the championship. Third to Greg Stewart in the white 33.
Great run for Greg Stewart, Rick.
Absolutely.
28 years old from Four Oaks, North Carolina, the pride of Four Oaks.
And 4th spot to Ricky Johnson. He wants more. He takes a look inside the Stewart machine as they come down the front straightaway. There you see the 44 Mark Dismore, the Monster.com Chevrolet riding 5th. Stewart with that 1 top 3. That's 2nd at I-70 where he led many laps earlier this summer.
But Ricky Johnson right behind him. He wants that position. Look at him right there looking low, Rick. He is taking a look on the inside of Greg Stewart. I wonder if he's taking the measure of him, trying to figure out a place to pass. Don't know if he can, but it looks like he wants to.
Well, we watched Mike Garvey try something similar back in the early stages of this race. Garvey trying to work his way to the front, was diamonding the corners, running down off the high banks to the inside to try to get a run on the car he was chasing. Could never quite pull it off. The momentum he was picking up by coming down to the inside of the racetrack just wasn't quite enough. It seems as though if you're up high and you keep the engine wound up, it's a momentum situation and you will be able to stay out in front.
Hey, no, I'll tell you another thing, Rick. I was talking to Ricky Johnson yesterday, and he said You know, he said, you are out of breath after you make a 40 or 50 lap practice run. And he's one of the, I mean, of all the drivers, he's in perhaps, I don't know if the best, but he's in great physical condition. You know, Brandon Sperling, another guy, but he says you are just flat out of breath. He said this racetrack reminds me of Supercross racing. I've got to learn how to, you know, relax certain muscles because, boy, you're just up on that wheel every single lap.
There's some whoops here in Winchester. There's no doubt about that. Here's your battle for the lead. It's still Garvey in the 1, St.Amant in 2nd spot. And look at this for 3rd spot. Greg Stewart in the 33 and the 22 of Johnson. Ricky takes the Nationwide Auction Systems car down low in 3 and 4. Stewart able to beat back the challenge again.
Look at him on the bottom, Rick. He's making that thing hold and stick down there. I haven't seen many race cars do that this afternoon.
But Stewart able to run quicker pace up high. Mark Dismore trying to get in there and get a spot away from his teammate. If Ricky's not careful, he may give up 4th right here to his teammate.
And the other car
in trouble. Ricky Johnson slides. Mark Dismore slides. Johnson hits the wall. Dismore hits the wall. Caution on the speedway. Ricky Johnson went into the corner, lost it, slapped the wall, and we've got yellow flag condition for the 9th time this afternoon. Mark Dismore, I think, may have hit even harder in the team car to the 22, the Monster.com 44. So the caution waving in front of this full house of 10,000 plus here at Winchester, Indiana. Dismore with damage to the right side of the Herzog Chevrolet.
Tough break for those two guys. I was just about to say, watch out for Joey Clanton. Here he comes, and he was right in the middle of that pileup. Let's take a look at the replay, Rick.
Coming down the front stretch, Stewart riding 3rd in the 33, Johnson 4th, Dismore 5th. Here they are in the corner, and Ricky just lost it. Tries to dirt track it. Now watch this. He'll tap the wall, but his teammate and Clanton get up into it pretty hard. Beebe gets by. Stremme gets by. I don't think Ricky Johnson suffered much damage at all. In fact, he's back in line in 4th spot. Here it is again.
Yeah, the right rear just comes around on him. You're right, though, Rick. I don't think he hit anything, but boy, Dismore did. And Joey Clanton, hard to tell how much. Yeah, he made contact, and Rick Beebe on the bottom.
Ricky Johnson did make contact with the bodywork on the right rear corner of the 22 car, but I think what happened, Dismore saw that, jumped on the brakes hard, and that upset the car and pushed him into the wall with more force, I believe.
Yeah, they just carry so much speed into those corners, it's hard to get slowed down.
So the crew working Howie Leto of the team for the Herzog Motorsports bunch in the 44. They'll put right side tires, pull the bodywork away. Dismore may lose a lap, which would be a shame. Butch Miller and Joey Clanton, the two adversaries who fought to the wire a couple of weeks ago at Memphis, almost did the same thing last week at IRP before Butch Miller was your big winner. They come to pit road together. J.C. Beatty on pit road in the ATI Performance Products 09 as well. Butch and the Meyer Pontiac will go around. He picked a pit stall pretty far around between turns 1 and 2 here this afternoon. And the Meyer crew going to the right side of the 52. They'll add some fuel. J.C. Beatty will take some service work as well. Looks like they're moving a lot slower on the 09 car, but the 52 will get right side tires and a can of gas. The 09 crew also taking a look at the right side of their machine. Here comes Mark Dismore back around. He will try to come back to pit road and save a lap here so they can do a little more work. Now Dismore is being shown on the lead lap at 13th spot, so it's possible he was able to salvage it. How about Joey Clanton? He was caught up in one of those skirmishes earlier. Damage to the 83 car. They bungeed the bodywork back together on that thing, and Clanton isn't out of this either. He sits 12th right now at Winchester with 120 laps to go. Welcome back to the ASA's Winchester 400 live at Winchester Speedway in Winchester, Indiana. You're on TNN Sports. Rick Benjamin, Steve Burns, Bob Dillner trackside for you today. The one of Mike Garvey is out in front of the Tecumseh Chevrolet. The Wins Chevrolet of Gary St.Amant, the 2000 ASA National Champion, riding in 2nd spot. Greg Stewart in the 33 is 3rd. And how about this? Ricky Johnson, even with that wall slapper on the right side of the car, remains in 4th. And that is a great effort by that team.
And he's not backing off at all. Neither is Greg Stewart in the 33 or Rick Beebe in the 23 right behind him.
Rick Beebe and Jerry Gunderman's All-Star Pontiac, the AFCO Redline oil machine, riding in 5th spot. And there's the 27 of David Stremme right there as well. And the ISES machine, the blue car, the blue Pontiac, in 6th. So you got a great battle back there. Word from pit road is Ricky Johnson said, hey, I made a mistake. I took it into the corner a little too deep. Got away from me.
And Rick, we should mention also that Joey Clanton did a great job of avoiding Ricky Johnson a few laps ago. He did come in and take service. He is currently being showed in the 12th position.
Clanton, the last car unofficially to be on the lead lap at this point in the race, closing in on 100 to go here at Winchester. Watching that battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Rick Beebe in the 23 trying to get a run on Ricky Johnson. That move by Johnson when he lost it up there in one, dirt tracked it, belted the wall with the right rear corner of the car. Didn't slow him down any, which I find amazing.
Yeah, and he did an amazing piece of driving not to hit any harder, because when the back end comes around, you usually hit hard at this racetrack.
So it's Garvey out in front, St.Amant there in 2nd, Greg Stewart 3rd, and Ricky Johnson 4th. A little further back, there you see the 05 of Scott Wimmer, who led for a while, got into the wall, and has been off the pace ever since. What about the 9 and Tim Sauter back in 7th? Doggett David Stremme for 6th. Bob Dillner. It's been a quiet day so far for Tim Sauter, but this may be his 100 laps here coming up.
Crew Chief Mike Chappie told me they have adjusted that car to the max. They can't make any more adjustments. The car is still pushing. They are hoping the track creases up a little bit, maybe loosens up a little later in this race, and the car will come to him. Rick, you mentioned he was testing at Charlotte and Rockingham in the Express Motorsports number 61 Busch car. He said the test went very, very well, and he's waiting to see if he can get NASCAR approval to run Charlotte next week in that Busch race.
And let me add to that, Bob. Tim told me one thing this morning. He is testing that number 61 Busch car, but he feels like he's not being fair to either program. You know, he feels like it's detracting from his ASA program, but if you have an opportunity to run Busch, he might, he wants to see what's going to happen there. So he says he feels bad about it, but he doesn't want to turn down an opportunity either.
At age 35, the opportunities are not going to come that frequently anymore. If Tim is going to make a move like that, this is probably the time when he has to do it. Here's Mike Miller, meantime, talking about making moves, and a guy who ignores the dates on the calendar, the great veteran, to the inside of Sauter, wants the spot away in the Janet King Pontiac. This is for 7th as they race down the front straightaway. Miller working the low side with fresh tires on that machine. Now remember, he made a 4-tire stop just a short time ago. Sauter to the inside of Stremme for position. That's for 6th. And there goes Mike Miller. So Stremme starting to back up just a little bit in the 27 car. And here comes Robbie Pyle in the Van Camp's Beans Chevrolet. You're on board that car with Pyle as he works inside Stremme. Stremme may be falling off the pacer just a little bit in the Hamke 27 car. Trouble down the backstretch for Rick Beebe. Unbelievable. We talked about how Beebe was having a wonderful run in the top 5 today. She had a horrible run of luck this year. Rick Beebe has fallen out of the top 5 and is off the pace, being shown 9th. We believe he will be headed to pit road very shortly. Back on board with Butch Miller in the 52. Butch is 10th. He sneaks around the 05 of Wimmer, trailing right now Dave Sensiva, who rides in 8th spot. Butch Miller down the front straightaway with 2 career victories at ASA action here at the Winchester High Banks. Your leader, though, remains this driver. In car number 1, it's Mike Garvey. Garvey started 3rd today from Lakeville, Minnesota, gunning for his 5th victory of 2000. Mike Garvey is your leader with 91 laps remaining here at Winchester Speedway and the Winchester 400. Garvey has dominated the middle portion of today's event in the Tecumseh Chevrolet out of Lakeville, Minnesota. Here's the battle that's formed for 2nd. Gary St.Amant has bagged the championship. He wants to win. How about Mike Miller, who led earlier, flying by St.Amant like he was tied to a tree. Miller has now gained 6 spots in the last 7 laps, Steve
I was just about to say that. He's passed no fewer than 6 race cars in the last 6 laps. Just an amazing run to the end by Mike Miller. Now he sets his sights on Mike Garvey.
8 leaders after 300 laps, the 3/4 mark of the day. 10 lead changes. We've had 9 cautions, including 2 mandated by ASA and BF Goodrich. Watch the leader's arrow down into turn 1 to put lap 312 on the scoreboard. Miller closing in on Garvey at quite a rate. Now, these two drivers certainly have some history together in the last couple of seasons. It would be very sweet for Mike Miller if he could gain some redemption for what has been a rotten summer for his team, quite frankly, if he could beat Mike Garvey here today.
Hey, and look, he's going to go underneath Garvey right now, Rick.
There he is, down the backstretch. Mike Miller in the Janet King Pontiac gunning for the lead on Garvey. Can't quite close it yet, but here he comes. That low line working for the great veteran from Georgia. And Mike Miller is back on the point. With 87 laps to go, he blows by Garvey, and look at him extend the lead. It's 4 car lengths already.
Boy, Carl Hyland, the crew chief, had some trick up his sleeve, didn't he? They talked about that weight distribution. Boy, they are flying. Here's a battle for position a little further back for 5th. Greg Stewart and Robbie Pyle are side by side.
Pyle down low in the 8 car. Amazing because he took a hard hit. He was involved in that big wreck with Russ Tuttle on the front straightaway. I frankly didn't think the 8 car would even be able to continue, but apparently most of the damage was cosmetic. Pyle has taken the 33 car of Greg Stewart. Give Robbie Pyle 5th now as we work into the final 75 laps here at Winchester.
And this is important because, as we said, that team's having a little bit of financial trouble. They're, trying to cut corners to be able to go to the end of the season. Robbie Pyle needs to have a good finish today. They need a good paycheck.
Greg Stewart now apparently needs a tire stop. He is slowing down. Butch Miller will go by as well. So get Miller 6th in the 52. Considering it wasn't very long ago, we were saying Butch Miller was 18th, last car on the lead lap. He's raced his way up to 6th in the Meyer Pontiac, last week's winner at Indianapolis Raceway Park. So for a place he doesn't like much, Butch Miller has turned in a strong run here in the middle portions.
Yeah, but he says that about every track.
That's true.
I can't get hooked up here. I'm not any fast. Don't know what to do. And then he's running to the front.
Starting to reel in Robbie Pyle as well for 5th. So Butch may be on track to score a top 5 here today. Coming up on 80 laps remaining.
And Rick, if my math is right, we should see one more tire stop. We'll see a yellow flag from ASA officials, and then they should be able to run to the end. But it's going to be interesting, Rick. I bet you somebody who has nothing to lose doesn't change tires. They'll say, hey, we'll just stay out and see what happens.
Could be. Well, the point situation up front is settled. Gary St.Amant has wrapped up the championship, and Kevin Sawinski pretty much has 2nd in the bag. Now, there are some close point races a little further back, so some guys may be in a gambling mode today and others may not be. But for Butch Miller, for example, Butch comes to race to win. I know the championship is on everyone's mind, but for Butch Miller, there's one thing to do when you come to the racetrack, and that's end up in victory lane.
Craig Miller, our stats guy, we were talking to Butch Miller this morning, and we said, don't you think somebody's going to take a gamble? Maybe run those tires longer than they should? He said, well, given the choice between put it in the wall, in the fence, and the trophy, I'll take the trophy. I'll take the chance.
No lack of courage on the part of Henry Butch Miller, no doubt about it. Here we are on board with Robbie Pyle of Van Camp's Beans camera today on the young Chevrolet. Robbie Pyle sitting 6th, looking ahead at Butch Miller's machine at 5th. How about those Miller boys? Butch and his brother Mike are doing a great job here today. That's not the relationship, the Crafty Veterans. They are members of the Crafty Veterans Club, no doubt about that. Mike Miller is your leader by 1.3 seconds over Mike Garvey. Coming up on 75 to go at Winchester. Welcome back to Winchester Speedway in Winchester, Indiana. Trouble on the front straightaway, bringing out our 10th caution of the day, and it ends a good run for Dave Sensiba from Michigan in car number 6, the MC Sports Dunlop Golf Machine. Sensiba got into the wall up between 3 and 4. We'll show you the aftermath. We'll look back at turn 4, and it looks like the right front tires cut down, Steve, on that car.
Yeah, I didn't see what started it, but I think you're right. And then he just tried to slow it down and keep it out of race traffic.
Sensiba up high, great veteran. David Bonnet apparently locked up the brakes in the Dunlop Golf 75 car and spun it at the top of the main straightaway. There you can see Sensiba up on the guardrail up in turn 4. And from the look of that car, it has dropped down on the right front corner, so we suspect that perhaps the tire had gone down there as well.
As I said, Rick, he did a great job of keeping that thing up on the wall to keep it out of race traffic.
331 laps are on the board, 69 to go. Leaders are on pit road to Bob Dillon.
Mike Miller has his Johnny King Pontiac down on pit road. Carl Highland and the boys going to make a 4-tire stop. Gary St.Amant gambles with a 2-tire stop. He is out. The hood is up on Mike Garvey's number 1 car. We will check on that and get back to you.
Trying to push start Garvey's machine. They get him rolling. He is down and away. The 18 car getting left side tires. Mike takes 4. Garvey, I'm not sure if he took 2 or no tires. They were worrying under the hood of that machine. Safety car is out and has picked up a restart pole sitter. Here comes Brian Ross and Jack Landis. Some of the cars not on the lead lap will come down pit road. The 6 of Dave Sensiba with heavy damage to the right side, coming in on the hook here on the front straightaway. Gary St.Amant on the racetrack. St.Amant shown 3rd at the moment, but an uneventful stop for him. Greg Stewart on pit road.
Boy, he was
left side tires.
He was pounding the steering wheel. He was furious, Rick. I don't know what happened to Greg Stewart, but having a great run, but just sitting off pit road. Says they're having trouble on the left front of the 33.
Looks like it. They are still on pit road. He gets the car rocked and restarted, and they bring it out onto pit road. Now, Stewart had backpedaled to 8th spot. He clearly needed fresh tires. Bob Dillon, you mentioned the hood had gone up on the Tecumseh Chevrolet. What's the word from Bon Suss and the boys?
Well, Mike Garvey ran out of power steering. They went up underneath the hood, poured some power steering fluid back in there, but they don't know if he's going to have it for the rest of the race. And let me tell you, this is a tough racetrack to get around if you don't have power steering.
So Garvey and the Tecumseh Chevrolet had led many, many laps here today. He got passed a short time ago by Mike Miller. Garvey is back on the racetrack. He's being shown fourth as we prepare to go green again in a couple of moments. Under caution, 10th time this afternoon. Might be one more mandated caution because ASA and the BF Goodrich tire folks trying to keep it to about 50 laps of green flag action. We're 67 laps from home. Back at Winchester Speedway, Winchester, Indiana, on the ASA AC Delco Series Tour for the year 2000, right here on TNN Sports. Rick Benjamin, Steve Burns, Bob Dillner, his trackside. We've got today's event, and then in 2 weeks, Saturday night, we'll be at Gateway International, just outside St. Louis, to wrap up the 2000 ASA campaign. This place is packed today here at Winchester. It's been 9 years since the American Speed Association brought their stock car series here to Winchester Speedway in Indiana, and the fans were anxious to get back and see these cars and drivers in action. Just since the start of the year, we were hearing about it back in January when the announcement came that ASA would return to Winchester. A traditional date here, the Winchester Fall 400 Lapper.
It's a fall classic.
It is a fall classic, no doubt about it. And folks were buying tickets and bringing their campers in here Friday to get ready for a great racing weekend. They've gotten their money's worth today. A lot of battles for the lead, a lot of action all over the racetrack, and it's been quite an afternoon. We've been thoroughly enjoying our time here this weekend, and we look forward to coming back next season.
Rick just found out, too, from the ASA officials, there will be no more tire cautions. So they're going to have to run to the end now. See, we're on lap 336, so they're going to have to run to the end unless there's another caution. But there will not be a caution from the ASA officials.
400 laps here in Winchester, the longest race in terms of lap count that these cars and drivers face this season. So you could expect that there might be some late race activity. Now, the field has been whittled down quite a bit. At last check, about 24 cars still running on the racetrack at this point. So there's a lot of open territory out there. Rick Beebe coming back on the racetrack. J.C. Beatty looks like he wants to come out of pit road in the 09. 338 laps on the board. Your restart leader is the 7 of national champion Gary St.Amant. Green is in the air. Mike Miller is on the charge. Tim Sauter's back there too. Robbie Pyle, Mike Garvey. This ought to be a great last 65, 62 laps of action here this afternoon.
Rick, there's 7 cars on the lead lap. Butch Miller in the 52 is 7. Greg Stewart, the first car a lap down.
On board with Butch, looking ahead at Ricky Johnson, who got into the wall earlier but didn't slow him down much. Ricky is 6th, Butch is 7th. The 53 car behind him there, Brian Ross, not on the lead lap. Back on board with Miller, working through the corners onto the front straightaway. Butch trying to get up and challenge Ricky Johnson for 6th spot. Leader, meantime, is Gary St.Amant. Tim Sauter is 2nd. Robbie Pyle and Mike Garvey, the rest of your top 4. This is the battle now for 3rd. Pyle and Sauter going at it. Actually, for 2nd, Sauter shown 2nd in the 9. Pyle is 3rd in the 8. Garvey is 4th in the 1. You heard Bob Dillner say when we saw Garvey drop back dramatically quickly, all Garvey apparently decided was that the pace was quicker than he wanted to run, and he backed out of the gas to let the leaders go. Garvey saving something for the end here at Winchester. Now, they do have a power steering question in that car. We were talking during the break. Mike Garvey's got some experience running well without power steering on high bank racetracks. It was at Nashville back in May this year when he ran most of that 300 lapper without power steering. So it can be done. Garvey's one of the guys who is game to try it if it becomes necessary here this afternoon.
And I think Robbie Pyle could be a factor before this is over, Rick. His best finish of the year is 6th at Hawkeye Downs. But, you know, he said he's won 4-cylinder races on this racetrack, knows it well. He might be a factor as we look out his in-car camera.
David Stremme is at the head of the pack of cars right now in the 27. You're on board with Pyle. Looking ahead at the Mold Plus, Build the Mold Chevrolet of Tim Sauter in 2nd spot. Pyle is 3rd. St.Amant is your race leader. The car in front of St.Amant is David Stremme's 27. Stremme is 9th right now. He is a lap down. He and Greg Stewart just have gone a lap down in the last couple of moments.
And we saw Greg Stewart on pit road frustrated. They obviously had a problem down there. He was having a tremendous run in that number 33.
There's your lead pair right now. Actually, the leader is St.Amant. McCarv Stremme trying to get back around, hoping for a caution so he can come around and jump back onto the lead lap. But he's a couple of laps down to the leaders at this point.
And wouldn't it be fitting if Gary St.Amant would win this race?
Oh, yeah.
Nail down that championship shut with his 3rd win of the season. That would be wonderful.
Watching the leader work down into turn 1, working on Stremme. Your leader is the 7 of Gary St.Amant, coming up on 50 to go. Bob Dillner, you've been talking to folks on pit road all day about the tire situation here. As this one comes toward the checkered flag, how about the B.F. Goodrich side of the story? What are they saying?
Well, we have Chris Baker, who's one of the engineers for BFG. We've seen a lot of tire wear, excessive tire wear here. Chris, what are you making of that here at Winchester?
We expected to see a fair amount of here, Bob, because of this is a really quick track. It has very steep banking. This is more wear, quite frankly, than we would have liked to have seen, but the team seemed to be managing okay. As it turns out, there's a pretty wide disparity between what the guys can manage in terms of tire life. We see at least a 25% difference between the guys that are running well and the guys that are having problems in terms of tire life. We're trying to work with the guys that are having difficulties to bring them up to that level.
You guys realized the problem right away, and you said you're already trying to work on some stuff to correct it. Tell us about that.
Well, we know that we have some mechanical things that we want to do to the tire in terms of its inflated shape. We want to try to do some things to relieve pressure on the shoulders of the tires. We have some testing scheduled here for the end of the season. We'll take care of those problems so we don't see this issue again.
Steve, Chris was talking to us a little earlier in the Winnebago, which is our office, and he told us they may even test Bristol to try to get this problem figured out.
And, you know, Rick, it's interesting. He talked about how they're seeing as much as a 25% variance. The BF Goodrich engineers tell these guys recommended air pressures on left and right side. They give them the camber suggestions, which is how the tire leans in, what degree. So, you know, if these guys follow that, then hopefully, you know, they're going to have not as bad as tire wear, but it also depends on how hard the driver is on the tires.
There are ways you can conserve tires as a race driver. Some guys are smoother and less prone to cranking the wheel hard, which does add to tire wear, especially on a high-banked racetrack. Other drivers do saw the wheel a lot and slide the car around, and that does tend to wear the tires away. Jump on board with Butch Miller, riding in 6th, 7th position, battling Ricky Johnson for 6th. Butch in the Meyer Pontiac is 7th right now, hanging on the lead lap. Ricky Johnson rides in 6th. Mike Miller is ahead of these two cars. Then you've got Mike Garvey in 4th spot, but this is the battle for 6th position now with 44 laps remaining.
And Rick, Mike Miller just went by Mike Garvey, went past him on the backstretch, made it look easy, and he's starting to pull away. Here comes Ricky Johnson underneath Mike Garvey.
Garvey's car with that power steering issue apparently not up to speed. Ricky Johnson wiggled to 22 again, though. Almost got into the fence a second time today. Here he is on Mike Garvey. Garvey was so strong earlier, Steve. I've got to think there's something amiss with the handling of that race car, because Mike Garvey was clearly the class of the field in the first half of the race.
Yeah, because he would be able to drive the thing. You noted that he won a race without power steering. I've seen many drivers win without power steering. Not easy, but I do think there may be more going on with that race car than just the power steering.
Ricky Johnson and Butch Miller battling for 7th spot here. Some of these cars leaning on each other just a little bit. We'll show it to you just a lap ago. Ricky Johnson and Garvey here up in turn 1. Little tap. Johnson has to get out of the gas. Miller right there watching in the 52. This is the battle for position back in 6th and 7th. On board Butch Miller, the Meyer Pontiac. Our Vortec Engines camera today in Butch's machine.
Ricky Johnson has never won an ASA race, but boy, he's been close. Rookie of the year last season, as you mentioned earlier, Rick. And just, you know, a guy that gives his all to the sport. And you mentioned earlier this season, he's still doing a lot of off-road testing. Tristan Dupuis smoking down the front stretch. He did a lot of off-road testing and racing, and he's cut back to concentrate on ASA.
Tristan Dupuis apparently has had an engine problem develop in the Go-Go Auto Parts Frechetta Pizza's Pontiac. Once a winner this year. Actually, it looks like maybe an axle problem. Looks like the left rear tire has shifted to the inside on that machine quite a bit. You see the tire hanging outside the bodywork on the left rear. That's usually a bad sign. Looks as though the right rear tire has gone down on the Frechetta Pizza 11 car too. So
what if he hit the wall, Rick?
Could be. Maybe he has diamonded the chassis of that race car. So Dupuis will be headed to pit road. He's way off the pace. Tough break for Tristan. He was showing 60s, but had run up in the top 5 a couple of times here today. So Dupuis will head behind the wall. 36 to go. Gary St.Amant has clinched the 2000 ASA Championship today. Wants his 3rd win of the season. He's got to hold off Tim Sauter, though, to do it. 25 to go in the Winchester 400 here at Winchester Speedway, Winchester, Indiana. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns and Bob Diller on TNN Sports. Your leader is Gary St.Amant, already claiming the 2000 ASA Championship. All he had to do was finish 30th or better today to lock it down. He may be headed to the house, Steve Burns, with his 3rd race victory of the season here. What a fitting way it would be for St.Amant to end this season. We'll talk about that in a moment, but we want to let our fans know, if you're tuning in now to join us for our coverage of the NHRA Winston Drag Racing Series, the Advanced Auto Parts Nationals at Heartland Park, Topeka, the finals are coming your way today here on TNN Sports, immediately following our coverage of the American Speed Association. So stand by. We've got about 25 laps to go in the ASA AC Delco Series run here at Winchester. Then we'll send you out to Heartland Park, Topeka for today's finals of the Advanced Auto Parts Nationals. On board with Butch Miller, taking a look back at Mike Miller. I'll tell you, those wacky Miller brothers, they are just having at it today.
The crafty veterans.
And here comes Mike back to the inside of Butch. I thought Mike Miller had the winning combination here today. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to win this afternoon. Looked like they had the tire wear and the setup figured out beautifully for these high banks at Winchester that nobody'd run on for 9 years in ASA. And Mike was leading comfortably, but after the last round of pit stops, Gary St.Amant has picked up the pace tremendously.
Boy, he sure has. And, you know, as you said a minute ago, Rick, wouldn't it be great to see Gary St.Amant take that crown by winning the race here? And you know what's weird? He told Bob Diller and I yesterday, he said, boy, I got myself all worked up about this place because it's been 9 years. And, you know, guys, when they hit here, they do hit the wall hard. And he said, but, you know, once I got out there and practiced, you know, I realized, all right, it's not going to be so bad.
Heard a story told by his crew today that when Gary was in his first couple of laps of practice, he was saying to himself, well, there was been a big wreck here, and a big wreck here, and a big wreck here. And then he had to talk himself out of that so they could get the car up to speed and go to work for the weekend. Coming up on 20 to go, Butch Miller, Ricky Johnson back in 5th and 6th. Mike Miller is solidly in 4th. David Stremme is not the leader. He's going to pull to the inside and let Gary St.Amant go by finally. St.Amant had followed Stremme for a long time. Gary St.Amant is out in front with 20 to go. Tim Sauter in the 9 car, last year's champion, is second. I guess there would be poetic justice in those 2 drivers running 1 and 2 here this afternoon. Robbie Pyle a good distance back in 3rd, another 3 seconds back, and there he is. Robbie Pyle in the young Van Camp Chevrolet, and you got to give Pyle a lot of credit. If you were with us earlier this afternoon, he and Russ Tuttle wrecked hard at the head of the home stretch. I thought Pyle's car would be done for the afternoon. The young team got him back on the track after a quick pit stop under caution, and he has been fast all afternoon. Kevin Sawinski back on the racetrack, but Mike Miller is the guy running 4th behind Pyle in the Janet King Pontiac. Mike's best outing in quite some time, but he is 7.5 seconds behind the leaders right now. Some trouble on the backstretch for the one of Mike Garvey, wrestling that car without power steering as we watch Mike Miller. Garvey shown in 7th spot. Miller down the back straightaway into 3. He is all alone running in 4th right now, and there's Butch Miller back there in 5th. We'll show you Mike Garvey in a moment. Bob Diller has told us how that team has been struggling. Mike has worked without power steering, and he just clipped the wall a moment ago. Ricky Johnson in the 22 car back in 6th. And then as we look back a little further, Larry Foyt slowing on the speedway in the backstretch. Foyt, the pole sitter, the early leader today, in trouble. As we watch this battle, apparently Foyt got into the wall in the Harrah's Pontiac. So caution is waving on the speedway. Foyt stops on the racetrack up in turn 3, our 11th caution of the afternoon, with 15 laps to go here at Winchester Speedway in Indiana. The right front tire appears to be down on the 14 car, which certainly would give you reason to believe that Larry Foyt would have to stop up on the speedway, and we will get a wrecker out to take care of the Harrah's Pontiac from the A.J. Foyt and Butch Miller stables. Gary St.Amant now will just be able to ride for a couple of moments. What's going through his mind, you think, Steve Burns?
Well, I tell you what, he is not thinking, I won the championship. he did not want to see that caution flag come out. You know, he had a huge lead over Tim Sauter and Robbie Pyle. Now they're all going to be bunched up.
It's going to set him up for a restart here in just a couple of moments as Larry Foyt stops up on the third turn banking there. Gary St.Amant, the 2000 ASA champion, claiming that title today in the Goodwrench Chevrolet, trying to claim his third victory of 2000 in the American Speed Association.
Right now, how do we know?
Give it to the one to go this time.
Back live at Winchester Speedway in Winchester, Indiana. Coming to the end of the Winchester 400 today. The return of the American Speed Association to this legendary high bank racetrack that's been in operation for 86 seasons. It opened in 1914 as a dirt track. Half mile, they added the banking of the pavement. In the 40s, the legendary promoter and track builder Frank Funk put this track together back in the early part of this century. It has been a legendary stop for ASA, for the USAC sprint cars and midgets down through the years, and a host of other sanctioning bodies. We're just glad to be back here after a 9-year hiatus. And when next week the ASA puts out its 2001 schedule. By the way, we'll have that for you on race day next Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific. And we presume strongly that Winchester will be a big part of the 2001 ASA schedule that we'll let you know about next Sunday. Back green and going, 8 laps to go for the championship for Gary St.Amant, the 99 champ Tim Sauter, St.Amant the 98 champion, and the 2000 champion. He has locked it up. He's going to try to hang on and win his third race of the season. Tim Sauter, though, is going to give it fits here in the final couple of laps, I think, Steve.
One thing about Tim Sauter, boy, he will ride that horse for everything it's got. If he's got a chance, Rick, he'll take it.
Down into turn 3, you're on board St.Amant, the USAMeets.com camera. Tim Sauter has very patiently worked his way to the front. He has not led yet today. But the track seems to be coming to the 9 car for Sauter as we work toward the final couple of laps here in Winchester.
Well, he really draws a beat on Gary St.Amant there through 3 and 4, but pulling him down the straightaways, Gary lengthens that lead just a bit.
Your top 2 cars in turns 1 and 2, and Gary St.Amant pulls away by 7 car lengths. Mike Garvey right there in the 1 car fighting an ill-handling machine with no power steering, third on the racetrack. Your third place car, though, is the 8 of Robbie Pyle, and right now only 7 cars, make it 6 cars, are on the lead lap. Garvey has gone 1 lap down. 5 to go. Pyle is third. Butch Miller and Mike Miller battling for position a little further back. Mike Miller is 4th. Butch Miller is 5th. Ricky Johnson is 6th. They are the only cars left on the lead lap. Garvey is 1 lap down, and he is in 7th spot.
Great run there for David Bonnet.
Yes.
In the top 10, the number 75. Great run for David.
Bonnet working his way into 10th spot after having problems earlier. He spun once today in the Dunlop Golf Alan Caton Chevrolet. Good run for Neil's son. Great to see that as the 2000 season, his rookie ASA campaign winds down. It's been a frustrating year for David Bonnet. 2 laps to go, 2 to go for the leaders. Danny Spence shows Gary St.Amant the 2 to go sign. The white flag will wave over St.Amant the next time by. Tim Sauter right behind him in 2nd spot. There's the white flag. I can't believe it, Steve Burns. You couldn't write a better script.
No.
All Gary St.Amant needed was to finish 30th or better. We thought he'd be conservative. He was early in the going, but obviously the race has come to him. The car has come in beautifully, and he showed championship form. The checkered flag is in the air for your 2000 ASA champion. Gary St.Amant grabs his 3rd race win of the season, clinches the 2000 title in grand fashion as the ASA returns to Winchester Speedway in Indiana.
Oh, isn't that great? And Tim Sauter, the champion from last year, salutes Gary St.Amant.
St.Amant with the hands clenched on the wheel. He'll flip the visor up, wave to the fans on the way by. We'll come back and get a word with the new champion in a moment. Today's coverage of the ASA Winchester 400 here on TNN Sports has been brought to you by BF Goodrich Tires. Take control. Back at Winchester Speedway, the new champion is Gary St.Amant. Let's go to Bob Dillner.
Well, I can't quite get to Gary right now because he's on top of the car and on top of the world. Gary St.Amant, what a way to cap off a fabulous season. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, Bob. You know, this was just the same way our year has been. This whole deal goes to my team. You know, they got us in and out of the pits all day great, and that last pit stop won the race for us. think all day, we had a great car, just kind of raced the racetrack, and it come to us there at the end.
This is one racetrack that you actually didn't think or didn't know if you could win on.
Been coming here for a long time. Seen a lot of wrecks, seen a lot of guys lose races, seen Bob Seneker win a lot of races. Thank you, Mr. Seneker. You showed me how to win here at Winchester. We finally did it. Got to thank Wins, GM Goodwrench, Lane Automotive, Port City Racing. Sweet Manufacturing did a good job on our power steering this weekend. BF Goodrich, Vortec Engines, TNN. Thank you, Bob.
Well, they got the championship banner up. He's got the championship hat on, and let's give him the championship T-shirt because Gary is definitely deserving of that this year.
What a run to cap off a marvelous season for Gary St.Amant, greeted by his wife in victory lane. Third win of the campaign. Steve, as we mentioned, couldn't ask for a better script.
Nor a better champion. He's truly one of the great guys in racing and a deserving champion. 2
championships in 3 seasons, in fact, now for Gary St.Amant, Bud Gebbin, and the entire Wins Chevrolet team. Show you the unofficial field summary here at Winchester today. The second 10, Scott Hansen gets 11th. Joey Clanton, who led earlier, finishes 12th. Brandon Sperling soldiers home 13th. Rick Beebe comes home with the top 15. And we look for 21st back through 30th spot. Coming up next, our coverage of the NHRA Winston Drag Racing Series, the Advanced Auto Parts Nationals from Heartland Park, Topeka. Eli Gold and the gang standing by. They'll pick up the coverage as soon as we say goodbye here at Winchester. Great victory for Gary St.Amant. We're back in 2 weeks on Saturday night, October 14th from Gateway International Speedway just outside St. Louis. 9 o'clock Eastern Time for the season finale for the American Speed Association. Hope you can join us for that. Get all the information, of course, by checking us out at tnnonline.com. 9 o'clock Eastern on Saturday night, the 14th of October. The ASA wraps up its campaign, its first ever visit to the mile and a quarter oval at Gateway International. Steve and Bob and I will be there for all the coverage. Coming up next, as we mentioned, it's the NHRA Winston Drag Racing Series, the Advanced Auto Parts Nationals from Heartland Park, Topeka. Next Sunday, 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific, we'll be back with full coverage, including a post-race look at Gary St.Amant's 2000 championship run. That's on TNN's Race Day. Hope you can join us for that. Our congratulations to Gary St.Amant, Bud Gebbin, and the entire team. A wonderful victory here today and the ASA's return to Winchester Speedway, the Winchester 400, capping off a terrific season for that team. They win their second ASA National Championship in 2 seasons. For Bob Dillner and Steve Burns, I'm Rick Benjamin. Kudos to Gary St.Amant. We'll see you next Sunday on Race Day and in 2 weeks from Gateway. Thanks, everybody.